Welcome to South Harmon.
What's up, everybody? Wednesday night AMA. We're live and in the building. A little bit earlier than our normal time, but hey, it worked last week. We had a hell of an audience. Y'all showed out last week, so fuck it. We ride again. Let's go.
We go back, we go back to the well.
I'm sure YouTube hates it, the fact that I just drop hard F-bombs like 6 seconds into the damn show, but
yeah,
hey,
it's all right.
We do what we want.
Hey, sometimes you got to stay true to yourself,
Come at me, bro. Every day this week has felt like Monday for me, so it's already been a long week. We still got 2 more to go.
We got
this wine.
Well, here, listen, you pound that wine. Actually, I kind of wanted to start off the show a little different than we normally do today with a message here.
All right.
So you got some time to get that wine down, But
right.
Mike, it's crazy when you think about Tomlin leaving, right? I was telling Fizz, I was on the phone with him yesterday. I'm like, we normally don't even have coaches on the thumbs ever. Like 2 weeks in a row, we're going to put coaches on the thumbnails, And
who's next?
Well, that was what last thumb said too. What's next? And it's crazy, Mike. Think about this, right? AFC North going into. So think about a year ago. Right? A year ago today, you tell somebody straight up to their face, Tomlin, Harbaugh, Stefanski are all going to be gone. I mean, you're getting laughed out the building. You're getting absolutely laughed out the building, right?
Yes.
Going into the draft for the Browns, like the most believable one would probably be Stefanski, I guess. But going into the draft for the Browns, it's like Stefanski's their best offensive weapon. That says how little the talent they have on offense,
Yes.
And to me, like kind of using that as a frame of reference, a lot can change in a year, right? A lot of times for all of us, the amount of things that can change in a year and what like next year looks like to the sitting point you're at right now can be drastically different. And it doesn't even have to take a full year to get there, but I'm just using that as a frame of reference here. And I think going into this offseason, right, going into this full new year for South Harmon, for myself, there's a lot of things I think in life that, we all have thoughts and things that we want to maybe do or implement. And a lot of times it's like, the moment isn't right, like I'm not quite there yet. And to me, it's kind of, this is like a message of those things that you're thinking about doing, those things that you want to do and implement. There's no better time than the present, because right now the situation at hand is why probably you're thinking about doing those things. But by the time you are ready to do it or, go to implement it, the entire situation may change. So whatever those things are for yourself, I would just strongly consider for you and encourage you to think about doing those things, whatever they are. Like for me, Mike, I'll just give you kind of an example here. For me, one of the things is I really believe life's all about people. And to me, giving is one of like the best things to do, because the feeling for me of giving to somebody always makes me feel better than whenever I could receive, let's say, whatever that same thing is. So, over the last couple of years for myself, it's been tough because I haven't been in the situation that I have been in the past to give, right? Because money's tight or whatever's going on currently, right? I don't have the time because I'm so busy doing things. So maybe I wasn't giving as much as I probably should have or felt like I wanted to give. So just to give you an example here. So New Year's Eve, all right? Getting ready to watch the games. Almost wish I hadn't. If you know what happened on New Year's Eve, Okay, so... Hey, beard looking good, ATM. Appreciate that, man. And actually, I'm getting ready to give a shout out to Corey here, too. But so I go over, and it starts over here anyway, Mike, in Ohio, really sleeting and getting like ugly on the roads. So I told my wife, hey, I want to go get some wings for the game. One of my little rituals. I'd like to go over to a little spot here, Upper Crust, and get some good wings from them. They happen to have a deal, too, on that night, wing night. So 20 wings for $20 is like unheard of, unheralded anymore, So I'm like, yeah, let's go do that. I'm driving over there, and it is like horrible on the roads. Like I see literally accidents the entire way over, and I'm driving like on the highway about 30, 35, one of those. So when I get there, I'm like, man, all these people working, I kind of feel bad for, and I want to make sure to really let them know to be safe on the road and also let them know that I appreciate what they're doing. So I get in there, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to give them a little bigger tip than I normally would. So I'm thinking, let's give, $10 a person. And it's a little shop, right? So I'm thinking maybe 2-3 people are in there, right? So I go in there and I ask the guy, and he's like, yeah, we got 10 people working. I'm like, shit, 10 people working? Where you got them at? You got them. They're back. I don't even see them. Well, there's a little part of the shop that you can't see from the normal spot. But I'm like, damn. So I was gonna give $10 a person. I'm like, that $100 on a $20 wing. That seems a little bit insane. But I just felt like what I committed to and what I wanted to do. So I'm like, fuck it. And to be honest with you, like that's not in the budget for me. I didn't really have $100 just really just sit in excess. So I go ahead and do it, and I'm kind of thinking, all right, that was more than I wanted to give, but it'll probably be really meaningful for all those people. Well, Mike, so when you do stuff like that though, right, and kind of talking to the point earlier, when you're not in the position to, or you don't feel like you're ready to, you may not do it. And because when you do it, it's like, well, I didn't really have the $100 to give, or you're worried about it, right? So Mike, literally on my drive home, I get a DM from Corey, who had taken over one of my orphans. And he told me at some point whenever he took over the orphan, like, man, this team's actually in really good shape. I appreciate it. When I get a win, I'll make sure to give you some of the winnings. Now, I mean, listen, I had completely forgot about that conversation, and didn't really put too much seriousness into it. So before I can even get home, he sends me a Venmo for $75. And a lot of times it's like, those things that you're worried about along the way, they don't typically happen that quickly, right? They're not typically that fast, but often, at least for me with giving, for example, that giving, like people are so worried about what they're going to lose that you don't necessarily realize that giving does tend to come full circle. And so for me, again, that's just a message of like, Tomlin being gone, Harbaugh being gone, Stefanski being gone, 9 coaches, I think it was out of 32 gone. You don't know what the situation will be in a year. Don't allow whatever you have on your mind to, go to waste while you wait for that opportunity to come when by next year, everything for your situation and you might be different.
Good said. Good. Well said, man. Listen, we don't look at it at the time, but, I do believe in my heart, man, good things happen to good people. Good deeds do get rewarded. Seems tough at sometimes though, because sometimes you're waiting a long fucking time, Adam. It ain't like, hey, I just did something nice, and somebody like Corey hops in there and like, hey, by the way,
yeah.
No, you forgot about this, but hey, here's a little spending cash
for sure. I mean, well, listen, it came at a perfect time.
He said, must be a different Corey.
Not me. Oh well. Oh, you know what? Actually, it is. It's Big Corey. I'm sorry about that, Corey.
Oh man,
I do still love this Corey.
Well, I love Corey Mercer, man. Corey Mercer,
of course. But I mean,
nice things all the time.
It's Big Corey, and also it's crazy too, Mike. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start off with something a little different, kind of talking about this. I won't spoil it, but somebody texted me right before the show. Hey man, I'm excited to watch the show tonight, and thanks for hooking me up with the information I needed so that I could give to somebody else. So I think a lot of times when you put those good things into the air, it does tend to come full circle. But to the point you're making, I'll just say this too. The timing was key, in my opinion, because Mike, had I got that Venmo beforehand, right, now the situation's like really in my favor to do such. And I think a lot of times it's doing it on a little bit of more of a leap of faith, not thinking that I had no idea that was coming, right? So I think when you do it in that order and do it from that perspective, a lot of better things come. But kind of transitioning, Mike, Tomlin, right? The Steelers, I did a video, Money Moves, 2024 season, talking about how the Steelers had 3 head coaches going back to 1969, basically since the inception of the Super Bowl, right? Tomlin tells him he's out, and obviously that's the big piece of news here. Curious, a lot of your thoughts on this, but I guess what are your thoughts off the rip, or generic thoughts? We've had a day to digest some of it.
Yeah. One, let's just speak highly of Mike Tomlin. The list of coaches, if I was a fan of the franchise, list of coaches that I would want running my team over Mike Tomlin is pretty small. Let's just say that. You can give the obvious, the McVays of the world, Shanahan's of the world,
right?
Andy Reid. I'm speaking as an Eagles fan. Nick Sirianni or Mike Tomlin, I would kill for Mike Tomlin.
but I mean, and yes, and to your point, right? Like,
Nick brought us a Super Bowl, so you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you're not saying he's the singular best coach, but he's in the conversation with them, right? He's absolutely in the conversation. So
what he's done over his tenure, was it 19 years with the Steelers?
19, yeah. And it's really interesting thinking about the timing, like 1 before 20, right? Took off.
Almost always universally successful during that time. One of the wildest things, though, I did see that came out today is 19 years, right? And wildly successful. I mean, you got to be successful to get 19 years in one spot. There's not a single active member of his coaching tree who's a head coach, which is kind of strange to think about.
My dad and I had literally just talked about this. It's interesting you brought that up because he's a Steelers fan, and of course he it's a quick little funny story too. I got my daughter saying "Go Browns" to my dad, right, on a video as soon as they beat him. They beat him last time they played, you know. So my dad, of course, they watch my kids, you know, during the day. So of course, and he saves it right before the game. He sends a video of Aubrey with a terrible towel, right, teaching her and telling her to, you know, go Steelers. So I'm like, you know what, I don't even have to say nothing here. Like it's again, it comes back full circle, right? I was like, Dad, you didn't think you were going to get away with that, did you? Within 24 hours, you guys got routed, and Tomlin said, I'm fucking out of here. Like,
peace.
Karma comes bad, too, you know?
See ya, I'm out of here. No, I thought he had a great tenure there, but you could also see here, especially the last couple of years, kind of running his course. You know, Andy Reid had a great tenure in Philadelphia, but when it was time to go, it was time to go. I would say this one was a little bit more amicable. He went on a higher note than what Andy Reid did in Philadelphia. Andy Reid had one poo-poo season and a couple massive draft blunders that just absolutely shit the bed. And that was a guy who was in charge of personnel. By all accounts, Mike Tomlin probably has a lot of say in personnel, but he doesn't make the final decision. And
yeah, he's not the only person, but he certainly is in the conversations, right?
What he's been given for a roster the last couple of years, especially when you start with the quarterback, it felt like a lot of that was forced upon him, and this is what you're going to do, and this is who we're going to roll with, and, you know, here's Arthur Smith, congratulations, he's going to run your offense, he's the offense coordinator, and you could just kind of see or sense the frustration on there. I'm sure with Mike Tomlin kind of being a player's coach too, to have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, Tomlin would never say this out loud, but you could just see some of the frustration on the sidelines and some of the looks and the attitude and stuff that he'd have. Aaron Rodgers, by all accounts, is not a easy quarterback to be the head coach of throughout his tenure. Same thing was said, you know, him and Mike McCarthy had a hell of a run together when they were in Green Bay. But, you know, Mike McCarthy, for all his faults and all things we want to make fun of him, sure looked a hell of a lot happier down in Dallas with Dak Prescott than he ever did with Aaron Rodgers. So you kind of see this. I think it was pretty smart on his end too. They still hold his rights because he's still under contract. So he's going to end up probably sitting out and having some family time and being able to do some television if that's what he wants to do, you know, be on shows, on podcasts, and, you know, kind of get that love of the game back. And then if he decides that he wants to return in 2027, it'll be good for Pittsburgh because they're probably going to be in one nasty rebuild. They'll be able to get some draft picks by trading them to his preferred destination on where he wants to coach. And, you know, kind of like this year, we saw a lot of the job openings. You know, Atlanta's an attractive spot, Baltimore's an attractive spot, but a lot of the other ones, it's like, okay, you got to kind of shape this how you want. We don't know what's going to be available in 2027. Like, we could have, for example, we could have a wildly successful coach like Sean McVay with what he's built out there in LA. If they were to go on and win the Super Bowl, maybe McVay's like, you know, I've had a great run, right? I'm still young. I want to enjoy my family, or, you know, I want to start a family or whatever it is. I'm out of here. You know, like, I left you guys in a great spot. I'm peacing out. You know, I'm going to go do my own thing for a bit and I'm going to step away. So you don't know if a situation, something like that, or, you know, I'm just throwing out an example. I'm not saying Sean McVay's fucking retiring mid-30s from coaching, but
right.
We've seen these guys, you know, in the past step away or have to step away for a little bit for health reasons, family reasons. You know, they're adults. You know, in NFL coaching, being a head coach is pretty intense. It's a year-round thing, right? And not a lot of family time. So you could see a real nice situation, something like that, open up for Mike Tomlin next year. And it's like, damn. Hey, you went from like how the fuck is Pittsburgh going to recover if Aaron Rodgers steps away from the game here? And, you know, what do they got for a draft pick and roster? And at best, this is a retool, and it just kind of feels like we're stuck in the middle to shit. He could be walking into a ready-made Super Bowl contender in 2 years. So
Sure.
I like it for him. I didn't really think it was going to happen. They kind of hinted to it on the broadcast about, this could be possibly the last game we see Tomlin coach for Pittsburgh. And I was like, really? No way. Ain't no fucking way. Aaron Rodgers, sure, might be the last game we ever see Aaron Rodgers on the field. But Tomlin? And then it fucking happened. It happened. It wasn't a firing. It was you put it on the thumbnail. Deuces. I'm out of here. You guys have fun.
Yeah, I ended up kind of doctoring that. He has a pencil, like a pen in there, and he's telling him go for 2. But I'm like, you know what? This is perfect little one to use there.
Right.
What's kind of crazy too? I was thinking about this, and I think in my head there's probably, I would call it 3 scenarios. So it's really funny because of the way in which, and you probably don't remember or recall much of this, but Bill Cowher, who you see on TV now, right, stepped down, and that was it. He walked away and never went back to coaching. 2007, right? He's 49. Tomlin's 53. I mean, there's definitely, I think, that scenario of, you know what, like I'm good. And I think sometimes, especially for, certain coaches, and I think the way in which everybody coaches is different, right? Everybody has a different style for everything they do. The guys that are really animated and fiery, that fire burns a little bit less, and it's a little tougher to get that fire to burn like that as you get older. So it could be there's a scenario like that where maybe he takes some time off and decides not to come back. Obviously, the scenario you already laid out where maybe he takes the year to kind of, recharge himself. Like, you never get the opportunity to recharge yourself when you're a head coach like that. So, and then figure out what he wants to do. And I also think it's interesting you were talking about the quarterback position. And I think since Big Ben has been gone, that's obviously been – and everybody knows. I don't care how old school or how you coach the game, if you're a defensive mind. Everybody knows it runs through the quarterback position and how important it is. They've been searching for one. And I think because of the way Tomlin coaches, right? He coaches a conservative style, old school, very successful brand of football. Not necessarily the most fun, but they're never going to be bad enough. I don't care who you give him, Mason Rudolph. It doesn't matter who you give him a quarterback. They're never going to be bad enough to really retool the thing, right? So you kind of got to the point where it's like they just keep having to patchwork together. And I mean, you're looking at a team that's literally just all Flex Seal. Like this thing is completely broken, but we're just Flex Sealing everything together. So I think, Mike, the third door, and people may not want to hear this, but it's like, hey, if you were to leave, right, I think it would be for a quarterback. And the other thing is, it happened with Fields. If you remember, Mike, going into the draft where they took Kenny Pickett, there was a ton of buzz around the Senior Bowl that he was doing nothing but following Malik Willis everywhere. And he ended up not drafting him, obviously, in round 1. They took Pickett. But I think with Fields, he never got to see it all the way out because he played Wilson. I think he's wanted to have a quarterback that could do a little bit of both, right? Run and pass. And he's never really had that either. Mike, I know people's feelings would be big mad and people would be big hurt, but if you're going somewhere now, I mean, the opportunity just happened to open up. I wouldn't be shocked to see him go to Baltimore.
Right. Eric and I were talking about it on America's Game Pod that we recorded last night, a little bit about it. And you kind of hit it off with the show. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that the Ravens wouldn't have their head coach, the Steelers wouldn't have their head coach, and the Browns wouldn't have their head coach, I would have argued at the time that the worst coach, the one that would be gone the quickest, is the one in Cincinnati, and that guy still got a fucking job.
Of course, yeah. It's funny. It's funny too when you think about the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals, teams that literally historically just don't have coach turnover. But yeah, Taylor would have been the one you're like, yeah, all right, we've seen enough of this thing,
Yeah, I think we just need to have them all just swap spots, like little musical chairs. We'll just rotate them around.
There's been some memes or gifs or whatever it is with they swapped like coaching jerseys. It's pretty awesome.
It's just like, we play you guys a lot, and it didn't really work out for me on this side, or there's some things I regret, or my situation isn't good. I'm going to go to the other side and see what the fuck's up over there. Why not?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, in this offseason is because of the coaching stuff is really crazy because, to me, a lot of times in the offseason, what you have is the guys that get let go don't typically have immediate head coaching buzz because it's like, obviously, you're letting it. This is easily the most like fruitful head coaching available guys, certainly since I've been doing content, but maybe even since I've been watching the game. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, big names out there, successful names.
Huge.
Yeah. It's very top heavy though. We start to get into a lot more unknowns as you go farther down the list.
But top heavy, where it normally you can't have it top heavy because it's guys that are unproven or you're taking shots on.
Now I'm excited about to see where the big shots, the ones that are in high demand, end up choosing for a spot.
Yeah.
I do think you have some opportunity here with the playoffs still going with some of these coordinators that are in there, because we have some fantastic defenses being ran. Some teams that are going to be playing for another couple weeks at least, into early February for the Super Bowl teams. There'll be a few teams out there that is their guy, whether it's a Clint Kubiak or a Vance Joseph or something like that. That is the one that they've already pegged to go. The only part about this coaching cycle that worries me is the leftovers for fantasy purposes, especially when I hear Matt Nagy's being floated out there as the favorite for the Tennessee Titans job, and I'm just like, oh shit. Oh shit.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
Not again.
It's some of these teams that aren't desirable, right? I mean, the thing that would make them desirable is that if you believe in Cam Ward and all right, we have a young quarterback that we can build around. But I mean, listen, obviously the reason they're so bad this year is because everything else is so horrific, right? So
I think the absolute easiest slam dunk one of this whole thing, get Chris Shula in Miami. Granddad coach there. It's my time. My first head coaching job is going to be in Miami. Just do the Shula bloodlines, man.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? To the point too. I mean, listen, the Dolphins. You didn't think going into this year that it was going to be nearly as bad as it was, and
right.
McDaniel kind of seemed to have saved his job, and then we found out that once the desired candidates were as good as they were, we're going to go ahead and let you go, buddy. But I think I think that's another thing that actually to me, Mike, a Tomlin reset, if it was to happen this year, Mike, think about that, right? You got McDaniel now, right? Dude, you telling me you get to bring in a good offensive coordinator, right? You get to bring in someone that is recently a head coach, a proven OC with your team reset. Man, it could be. I just don't. I know he's very. He's got very strong, ties and feelings, and I'm sure it's a move that might be, received wrong. So that may not be what's in the cards for him. But man, from a logical perspective, I mean, you get to go into a team with Lamar Jackson, right? Or even if you like Penix, let's say that you got the Falcons, what they have built around, right? Dude, what he had versus what that would be it's just night and day, completely.
There's some good options, right? Like we talked about last week. I like Stefanski to the Giants with, Jackson Dart and what they have around and what he can do with an offense. So. It's going to be interesting to see when this really starts to pop off. It feels like we're waiting for one domino and something that we're not putting our finger on. So I don't know who the guy at the top of the list is for all these coaching moves to really start, but it feels like we'll see them all fall into place here once that first guy makes this decision.
You mean the first hire will be the domino that kind of lets everyone know? Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. I was curious if you thought that maybe there was other coaches to be walking away or get rid of.
Can't really see it. I mean, you've heard the Matt LaFleur things, but I'd put that at 0.5% chance that actually happens, right? With what Matt LaFleur.
Well, but I mean, I would have put probably, if you asked me who was going to be gone first, LaFleur, Harbaugh, or Tomlin, where would you put it?
Yeah, I guess LaFleur would have been the leader in the clubhouse.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, listen, it's chaotic right now. It's chaotic,
It's happened. Hey, the best news that we got since we were on the show last time, I had to suffer through the fucking Eagles again and just want to kill myself. Losing to the 49ers.
I know you're a big Bang Bang Niner Gang fan,
Losing to the 49ers is the second worst team I can think of to lose to in the playoffs.
It can't. Right? Honestly, I think for you specifically, it might be worse than the Cowboys, honestly, especially with Purdy at the helm. Oh, yeah.
Nothing's going to be worse than that.
The Purdy at the helm, I think, puts them in a 1A.
I can handle combo. The people who want to deep throat and glaze Brock Purdy, even when he does it against bad defenses and looks really good, but then when he sucks, like he normally does versus competent defenses. I can handle that. I can handle the people. What I could not handle, and I'll tell you this for a fact, because I can barely handle it in the regular season. I definitely couldn't handle it if it happened in the playoffs, is Fizz and his fucking Cowboy stuff, right? Like, this would be the first time ever in history where he said,
a singular man still behind this.
See you in January, where I've actually had to see him in January. Normally, he's done by December 1st, so I don't have to worry about this shit. So I could not handle Fizz. I guarantee.
I love that this all comes back to I knew it. There's a singular person involved. That shit. No, I get it. You were going to say, though, before that. I didn't mean to.
The best news, having to suffer through it. Kevin Patullo, bye-bye. Pack your shit. You're no longer the OC.
I mean, I think that one. Did you see Salah's comments?
What's
going into that game? Oh, I thought you saw it. He was talking about. He was asked, what do you think of Saquon and kind of where he's at this year? And the way he answered it to me was as direct while attempting to be indirect as humanly possible. He's like, listen, Saquon's still, I believe he's an unbelievable talent. He's a threat to take any, run of the house. I mean, from what they're doing from a, schematic standpoint, I'm not really going to get into that. And he basically, he continued a little bit, but he basically straight up said the way that they're doing things in Philly is fucked up.
He basically looked at Patullo and Sirianni, because let's not forget,
that was wild to me. You got to go.
Sirianni got hired as a offensive coordinator from Indianapolis, right, to be the head coach because of what he did as an OC.
Yeah.
So he's a fucking head coach. He's got final say. You don't like it, take over the play calling, right? We've seen Stefanski do it. You see, Dan Campbell was never an OC, and he's like, this dude sucks. I'm taking this shit over, right?
Yeah.
You're the head coach, and he never did that shit. He just let Patullo do whatever. But you want to read between the lines on that Salah comment right there, Adam. He's looking across the sidelines going I don't respect you. I'm your peer and I don't respect what you're doing over there. I have no fears.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all talked about the Jets legitimately having good bones. That's easily a top 5 team to go to. Well, here's what I'll say, Saul, especially for Tomlin in particular, right? I think, if you think about it from, and Saul's a Steelers fan, so the Steelers, to me, are an incredibly unique organization, very, very well run, and it's because of the ownership there, right? And I think when you come from a culture like that, a tradition like that, and you are in the position to see that, I just think that we clearly know that the Jets have a ownership cultural issue at some point, some way, shape, or form here, right? Now you could argue that Tomlin could go in and try to reset it there, but I think there's certain things and dynamics that at the end of the day, a team is owned by somebody, right? The only one that you can't remove forcibly is the owner. And if you don't get along with that person, if you don't really see them as, kind of letting you run things like you'd like to, or just having a lot of owners get in the way, right? They don't let the people that they hire do the jobs that they're supposed to do. So I think that's, to me, a bigger issue with the Jets than anything else.
No to the Jets. Top 5, I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's only 9 teams available, so I won't argue it to the letter of the law. I think after the Falcons, after the Ravens at 1, the Falcons at 2, it falls off a cliff.
Would you rather go to the Titans, Cardinals, or Jets? You got to rank those 3 teams.
I'd probably still say the Cards, but Titans, Cards, and then Jets probably for me.
Dead last.
In that order, yeah. The Jets would be 3. I mean, they also don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback situation in place. That's the tough thing about the Cardinals as well. But
good news, none of these guys have to choose to go to the Jets because Aaron Glenn is still the head coach. So
yeah, but I mean, I will say with McDaniel, right? It's hey. At any point, you could see them pulling in Aaron Glenn and being like, "Listen, buddy, we love you, we do, but not that much, right? We got an opportunity to bring in one of the big guys." What about the Giants? I think the Giants are higher on the list because there is a young foundational core, right? With Neighbors hopefully coming back healthy, Scatterbo, what we saw from him, and then obviously, of course, Jackson Dart is the the thing there. I will say it's going to be interesting to see a guy who's done what Jackson Dart has done this year, but was picked later. I think coaches probably are a little more split. I think definitely coaches will be like, yeah, I want to go coach him. I think some coaches are like, yeah, maybe I'm not as high on Dart, but when you talk about the available ones, I mean, it's got to be.
I think
to me it would be next in order. It would be after the Falcons and after the Ravens. I would put the Giants at third.
S tier for me would be the same thing. Baltimore, Atlanta, and then but the Giants would lead off the next tier.
Right. Exactly.
A plus tier, kind of spot because they have a pretty good defense. They have a phenomenal defensive line.
Well, that's probably the as far as the actual foundation, that shit is ridiculous.
Right. Their offensive line was surprisingly decent this year. They made some nice improvements from what we've seen in the past with the Giants. And then, like you said, Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Scatterbo, Tracy, and whatever they decide to do at the tight end position, they have some talent there. And they have a fairly high draft pick, so it's a nice roster you can shape. You already have a real good, what do they call it, bone structure.
Well, that I think is what's interesting about it.
Needs a little bit of a makeover, just a little blush here and there, a little eyeliner.
If you go in, and I think the coach hopefully going in would believe in Dart or want to build it around Dart. If you do, it's like, hey, I got a quarterback and I have a high pick, and you have some of these other things. I mean, that's all really desirable. When you get to the other teams, Mike, that are out there that are available at the moment, it's the problem is it's almost the exact opposite, right? We don't have a quarterback solution, or one that universally you could see all these coaches going in and being like, that's my guy, right? Everybody else, every other team does not have that at QB, and they have other big, trench problems typically too. So it's full rebuilds, if you will.
Full rebuilds. The only thing that would worry you being the Giants is your first year, like bringing guys in. They don't have a lot of cap flexibility, right? Yeah. They're up against it. They're up against it with the Daniel Jones thing really fucked them over for a couple of years. You know what I mean? So
they do. I mean, right now, I think they do have at least the ability, because of Dart's contract, right, to basically start deferring that money and pushing it out so that you could make some moves. But so I feel like that would end up being what they would go with and what they'll do. But yeah, they have a lot of the dead money on the books, I think, right now in the next couple of seasons with him.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at pre-June 1st cuts. I mean, like the guys that they could have actual cap savings on are like integral parts to their team. Like they could do some restructuring, I'm sure, and free up a little bit of money, but they're only going in with $5 million in cap space.
Well, listen, this happened. Go back 2 years ago. The integral parts are the people that, might go to the Chargers. Keenan Allen, gone. Williams, gone. Like, you could see a coach come in and fucking erode some of them contracts potentially too.
They could, but I just don't see it with Dexter Lawrence. Sexy Dexy ain't getting cut.
Well, that's a player though that maybe they would actually they could trade and not have to eat all the money too, though, right? Like
there's a possibility.
You could see a scenario like that. But I'm with you in whole. I think they would. I think nowadays you can move money around if you do it, craftily when you have a Jackson Dart at the helm.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see when we get this first domino to fall, the first one to kind of get out of the way, and see what the top tier choice was. Like, who is the guy? Because I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be like Matt Nagy's first one to sign in Tennessee. It's like, we got our man.
I do think at least the coaching options this year, they're so some of the S tier guys, like you said, I think it'll make it deferred in a way, because
play it out a little longer.
For a team to basically take on, let's say, Nagy first would be like, and they've had to have 5-6 hard no's from Stefanski, Harbaugh, and Tomlin to be like, all right, well, fuck it, we'll have to bring in Nagy, right?
We're going to have some Senior Bowl stuff kicking off here, and usually it's the two worst teams get to coach the opposite sides. Well, one of those teams doesn't have a coaching staff at this point, so it's like, we better. I don't know how does it go to Well, if it goes to the third or the fourth team, neither one of those teams have coaching staffs.
It's like the Pro Bowl, and that's how Jerry Jeudy got himself a Pro Bowl and thought he was.
The fifth team doesn't have a coaching staff. The sixth team doesn't have a coaching. We got to go to Washington. Dan Quinn's going to be coaching in the Senior Bowl.
Well, it's interesting. I was just getting ready to pivot out of coaches, but I wanted to talk about it. Do you think, Mike, that's a scenario where they could end up being like, listen, Danny, we love you, but
he did enough fuck ups this year with how he managed Jaden Daniels' injury situation when he chose to play him. That wouldn't be crazy.
And I also think, let's say for Tomlin as well, Mike, I think in the NFL and in the high level athletics, there's enough politics going around to where, Mike, I'll tell you. So when my sophomore year, when I was playing just Division II basketball, totally different. We played against a team. I had a really good game because I was coming off the bench, but the guy who was in front of me got in foul trouble. And the coach, he gave me just a quick, not trying to get in trouble, but like, hey, look me up after the season. And, I think there's plenty of people that have had conversations already with Tomlin that technically would be tampering. As long as you don't go Kirk Cousins on it and tell them aloud, there might be some teams out there that he's like, yeah, I think I could get them to open up right now too,
I think so. If I said, yeah, I want to come there, they'd fire their guy. But I got that same mentality, man. I'm such a good maintenance planner. I think if I told another Prairie Farms location I wanted to come there, they'd be like, yeah, we're gonna get rid of this guy.
Yeah, we'll shift. We'll shift some things around, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay? Do you think? What do you think of the Pittsburgh situation?
I think it's gonna be one hell of a nasty rebuild. Good luck to them. I know the owner came out and said, we don't say that word around here, rebuild. But you're going to rebuild, my guy. You're going to rebuild. Like, you're worse off than the Browns, to be honest. You're worse off than the Browns. I'd rather have the Browns job, and that's saying something.
Well, let me tell you why I get that, but let me tell you why. See, culture does matter because, dude, the Browns is, to me, the worst. While they do have Garrett, while they do have some pieces, it's actually kind of interesting. I want to talk about this. The Moneyball guy was DePodesta. DePodesta. Billy Beane.
Moneyball to the NFL guy.
Yeah. DePodesta, right? So DePodesta quietly was let go of or walked away, stepped down, middle of the year, right? Mike, this whole thing with Haslam is so weird because of all the people in the building that I think would be like, all right, we've had enough of a track record and we've seen enough to be like, yeah, we're moving on, would be Andrew Berry.
Yes.
But you know what? There's a yes man mentality with a guy like that to a point where he can be he knows that Berry's going to do what he wants and basically let that. It's crazy to me. I'm telling you, Haslam to me is the stone cold worst owner in the NFL. It's not that close, frankly.
Yeah, it's probably not that close anymore since we got some of these guys out like Snyder.
Right. Well, that's what I'm dude. This is a guy that he basically had a fall guy in place in his company, right? So that he didn't get in trouble. This guy to me is crooked. Like the Watson thing. Is there any scenario where we're surprised that a guy like Haslam, goes through that scenario? Obviously, forget the fact that it worked or not. To me, it's just there's a lot of things in the building that I would not be surprised are just being done in poor faith, if you will. Haslam, there was a point when the Johnny draft, right? They paid $1 million to a firm for some reason while they have GMs and all this going on to say who should we draft. They fucking threw that $1 million down the toilet. And they draft Manziel when they told him to draft Teddy Bridgewater. The guy's not going to do what he's been told to do, and he's not going to let the people that he hires do what they're supposed to do. Like, it's the worst place to be.
That's true. Listen, but I think I could poison his drinks or something, Dude, we're doing this one for Jimmy this year.
If you can get Jimmy Haslam out, the whole thing could change. But yeah, for now, it's just rough with that dude in there.
I do think the Steelers situation though is kind of rough, right? The Aaron Rodgers thing kind of fucked them over because they were good enough. The Russell Wilson thing last year fucked them over because they were good enough. They just keep pushing off this inevitable rebuild because they can't, like you said, they were never bad enough under Tomlin to get a real good draft. I mean, fuck, even when they got Big Ben back in the day, right before Tomlin's time, when they got him. It wasn't like they were bad enough Ben fell to him.
and that's the thing, though, in defense of Rooney, right? They've had this culture and lack of coach turnover. They happen to strike gold, and they don't rebuild. So, I mean, I understand why he says it. I think when you look at the roster, it's clear that's not really a believable story. But you never know. This class, I think, is probably the one of the worst. Like, it's like the 22 year, where it's like, yeah, it's probably ain't the diamond in the rough year. You find one, just out of nowhere. But you never know. You never know. But it's just, I don't think it's likely coming this season for him.
Well, transition. Speaking on that front, we got big NFL draft news for us Superflex rookie drafters.
Yeah.
One of projected top 3, top 5 picks going back to school. Dante Moore not in this class.
What did I tell you just last week?
You did. You did say that, but also too, he had an opportunity to come out when he played Indiana and play well, and he did not.
To be fair, I had no idea that he would have the game he did, but I was like, I'll believe that he's in the class, and I'm gonna move. I would maybe move it. Yeah, but hey, I mean that I guess there's a couple talking points there, but Dante Moore, I think of the people that we found out are coming out, and the people that are going back, we would easily trade and swap those in a hurry.
Yes. Yeah. The most interesting part of that on the college side was Dylan Raiola. Nebraska's prized recruit from a couple years ago.
Patrick Mahomes Jr., right.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes cosplay. Leaves Nebraska and transfers to Oregon. And then Dante Moore says, hey, by the way, I'm coming back. Now it's a really weird dynamic because to me, Raiola was a good enough quarterback. We make fun of him for the Patrick Mahomes cosplay. But guy who started as a true freshman, he was playing really well last year until he got hurt. Leaving Nebraska is no surprise to me. Like, who the fuck actually wants to play football or even live in the state of Nebraska? That is one terrible state.
And that's coming from someone in Iowa, right? Yeah,
yeah.
That's how bad
I mean, we're the real corn state anyways. You guys call yourselves the Corn Huskers. We make more corn per capita, so go fuck yourselves. Stand up. Let's go Hawks. But him leaving to go to Oregon, I was like, oh, fuck, man. This must really mean Dante Moore's leaning towards coming out. And I don't know if the game just went that bad and he played that poorly that he decided he wanted to come back, or maybe that was in his plans all along. But who the fuck gave Raiola the advice like, yeah, you should transfer and then just basically not play at all next year? Because if Raiola, let's say he went to, I'm just throwing out another destination, like Texas Tech, for example. They got a transfer quarterback in Sorsby from Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. If he goes to Texas Tech, with how they were playing this year in defense, they're going to lose some guys to the draft, obviously. But if he went out and had a hell of a year at Texas Tech and they're back in the college football playoff again next year, on the national stage, and a lot of it's because of Raiola putting up stats. Raiola's got enough carry to be in the conversation as potentially the first quarterback off the board in 2027. Like, this would be a true junior who started for 3 years. His junior year was a hell of a year. He's got all the physical tools, arm talent, right? Patrick Mahomes Jr. cosplay, the whole fucking works. But he could have been in that conversation, and now you're sitting here and it's like, dude, you're playing behind Dante Moore. Like, ain't nobody drafting you in 2027 really high. Like they're waiting for you for your now redshirt junior year to come out and play.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe Raiola has to go back to the old days before the portal, where you transfer D1 to D1, you had to sit out a year, and maybe we just say, hey, you know what, fuck it, we got him, and we got you. We weren't expecting more back, but here's what we're gonna do. All right,
here's the ultimate.
You're gonna have to stay for one more year. Here's
the ultimate nightmare scenario. People rejoiced about Dante Moore going back. Right, they're like, man, now the 27 class is so stacked. We have a recent history of quarterbacks going back to school and falling flat on their fucking face and tanking forever.
Well, I will say it's interesting. You have a lot of the quarterbacks that do go for 4 or 5 years versus the 3 years. And I don't really buy into it generically, but comparatively, the numbers are nowhere near line. I mean, it's crazy.
But let's talk about the ultimate terrible situation for Dante Moore. He goes back. He has to compete with Raiola, and it is a messy quarterback competition all fucking year for Oregon. Right?
Or maybe we get like the old school. We get the platoon, right? We get the every.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah.
You remember that? Cardell Jones went on a hell of a run.
Of course, I remember.
And there was talks about the run was so great, even on 4 fucking games, Cardell Jones should declare for the draft. He'd be a first-round pick. And I actually think there were teams that were like, fuck it, pick
12
28,
gauge.
we'll take
Yeah.
Instead, he goes back to school, and then we get this weird J.T. Barrett, Cardell Jones platoon all fucking year, and neither one of them were good. It was terrible for both of them. It was absolutely horrendous.
The platoon is the worst scenario
Yes,
for everyone involved. At quarterback, platoon is just not. You can't. It's the position you can't do it.
The old adage: if you got 2 quarterbacks, you got
none. Yeah, rough. I guess. Oh, sweet. Look at that. How did I miss this comment? Great news, guys. I was accepted.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Best ball cabal.
Best ball cabal. Okay, we had a couple questions here. And as a matter of fact, I guess we'll give a quick fizz and
quick fizz and roll into questions, baby.
Let's do it, man. Maybe.
We're thinking about it.
Welcome to South Harmon. Welcome to South Harmon. Hey, welcome to South Harmon. We glad you here today. Another AMA. Ask me anything. Super chat is cool if you wanna pay to play. Like and subscribe, that's what we really appreciate. Let me introduce you to the tear down king. Mike McNutty, that's your questions, he'll answer anything. ATM, you know Adam, put them graphics on the screen. Glad you tapped in now, stay tapped in for the team. Hey, everything is posted. Go follow the socials. South Harmon FF tag us if we get noticed. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Another AMA. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today.
All right, and finally, what you guys came for. Questions,
Well, one more thing I just wanted to mention too, because we did get another piece of information and it's pertinent to Dynasty. It is Senior Bowl, accepted invites. Who's going to the Senior Bowl? Here we are, Adam. We got it. All right.
Okay.
Guys to pay attention to. So on the quarterback side, and granted, some of these guys will, man, can't believe I'm saying this because I never do it. Pull out of the Senior Bowl late. I don't. I leave it in.
Mike doesn't subscribe to that.
I don't, but Luke Altmaier, Illinois, quarterback. Talon Green, Arkansas. Now that one's a fun one, right? Because the guy is just he's like if Justin Fields and Joe Milton had a baby. All of it. You know what I mean? Like the size, the arm strength, the athleticism, but also the inconsistency, the inaccuracy, and the what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, the unfortunate things too,
Right. Yeah, he's definitely a Madden creative player at quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier, projected 101, entering the season at quarterback. He'll be at the Senior Bowl. Diego Pavia, all 5'8", Baker Mayfield 2.0. That guy will be there. Shout out to the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Honestly, anyone surprised with the this may come off as poor taste. It's not meant to be. But is that anyone shocked by him putting that out in the ether right after not getting the Heisman? Is crazy. It's called the little man syndrome, man. They got to be heard. They got to get mad,
Yeah. Cole Payton, North Dakota State, and then Sawyer Robinson, Baylor. So we got a couple interesting quarterbacks. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier there has a chance
for sure.
With basically just Mendoza and Ty Simpson right now as potential first-round picks. Mendoza, obviously, but Simpson maybe. We talked about that a little bit last week. Nussmeier has an opportunity now to do something at the Senior Bowl and stand out. Running backs I thought were interesting. Katron Allen, you and I like that guy.
Yeah.
We get a chance to see him at the Senior Bowl. Jonah Coleman. There was a report, too, that he pulled out of the Senior Bowl, so I don't know if we'll see him there. I don't know if it's an injury thing or what it is.
Didn't want to get it pregnant.
Seth McGowan, Jam Miller, Le'Veon Moss, Texas A&M, Adam Randall out of Clemson, wide receiver convert. He'll kind of be an interesting one if we get a chance to do a film session on him. Every time I saw him play, he looks slow as shit, though. But he's a big guy. Yeah. Nick Singleton, Penn State, Senior Bowl.
Man, it's crazy to think 5 stars at the Senior Bowl are not very frequent, Yeah.
Jamari Taylor, Virginia, Mike Washington, Arkansas, and then on the wide receiver front, big names, and I'm just trying to stick to the big ones. Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. That'll be a good one. He's got a little bit of first-round buzz, early one. Jacoby Lane, USC. Elijah Surratt, Indiana.
Related to what was it, Sage Surratt?
Sage Surratt. There you go. Now you're really getting
related.
Back. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Is he?
Surrat? I don't know if he is or not.
Sarratt.
Okay, then no, not related. All right, go ahead.
Okay. And then for tight ends, Justin Jolly's an interesting one for me, and kind of like the rest of this tight end class. Maybe. I don't know. The rest of these guys, I don't even know who the fuck most of these dudes are.
The nice part about this class is it's just how we like it. A-Warp tight ends. You know, that's
A-Warp tight ends. We might get Kenyon Sadiq in the first round, and after that, I don't really care. But I did see your boy from Ohio State, Max Clare, early declare.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting play on words, too.
Yeah, Max Clare, early declare.
Early declare. Do you have any anything else on that before we get to these?
Nope, just Senior Bowl, man. We're going to get that coming up here. Obviously, we get the championship game Monday night, Indiana, Miami. Like, we all had it preseason. Everybody had Indiana, Miami. The only thing I'll say, you were right on the Dante Moore. Can I get a little bit of credit for telling you that if Carson Beck plays well in these next couple games, that he might get a little bit of first-round buzz, the quarterback out of it. After the semifinal game, that's a Carson Beck game, baby. Carson Beck in the championship. That was got a chance to shock the world.
I will say I haven't seen much first round buzz for him yet, but he has played well, and I think man, I'll tell you, last year for me, this is making it too much about Ohio State, but that's what I do. So everyone's like, well, it's a win-win for Ohio State. They either win it all or we get to get rid of Ryan Day. And I feel like it was a lose-lose actually, because he's still here and he's still the problem. Yikes. That game versus Miami was so impossible to watch, bro. Just
the Carson Beck memes coming out after that big win in the semifinals, sent him to the national championship at home in Miami, in Hard Rock. Was hilarious, right? Like him on the field. Somebody's got a picture of him like on Snapchat. It's like, I ran into that end zone. Think about how I ran through that pussy. And it's like it's what he said to his one of the Convinder twins, whichever one he was dating there for a while.
Yeah. Do you think? Well, I wonder. Someone I thought asked about the game. I can't find the comment. If you see it, Mike, let me know. But I was. What do you think of the game? Do you think it's gonna be close?
I want to hope for a close game. I like Miami, and I'm not saying I like Miami in the game, but I like Miami's run. I like their physicality. Now, you didn't really see it out of the defensive line in the semifinals. Ruben Bain and Mesidor didn't really have a huge impact like they had all college football playoff and everybody else that they played. I'm a big Mark Fletcher fan. Like, I just love that guy. You love his story too, but I'm a sucker for big running backs, like 230-pound guys, which is why I fell in love with his teammate last year, Damian Martinez, and it's like, he's back.
I mean, if you dynasty at all, I feel like we're all guilty of the Damian Martinez love.
Yeah, we are. But I like Miami a lot. I hope for a real close game, and I've kind of doubted Indiana all year, and they've made me look like an asshole every step of the way. Now, it's funny to say, too, because when Iowa played Indiana, Iowa could have beat Indiana, which isn't really saying anything good about my Hawkeyes. It's like, what the fuck? We really do just play to the level of our competition because somehow we lose to a shitty Iowa State team this year. I don't understand what the fuck's happening. But Indiana, with what they did to Oregon, I was like, Jesus Christ. Now they've done it to Alabama. They've done it to Oregon. I'm not going to be shocked if they blow the fucking doors off Miami, but I'm hoping for a really fucking physical, close final game of college football.
Yeah,
for the 2025 season.
I would definitely like to see it close. Honestly, Mike, I feel like I'm not betting on it. I would bet on a little, maybe not as big a blowouts as the last two, but I think the narrative has typically been this, and in college football past, it always stood true, which is like you get to the big game, the bowl game, the championship game, in the trenches, and just the talent gap will eventually show itself. Well, with the new coach there, and with, I think in particular, NIL and the way that things are starting to reshape, you're seeing that Indiana, they belong. They don't just belong, they're legit across a lot of places, not just, if you didn't know and you just heard of Mendoza, you think, oh, well, they've got this great quarterback. No, they belong in a lot of ways. I think that team's been slept on, obviously, and it kind of makes sense because of the narrative in particular, right? But they're just too good, honestly. I think they're just too good.
I think I'm going to go, I know DB asked for score prediction. I'm going to go Indiana 31, Miami 24. Touchdown game. Vegas has got it at 8.5 point spread. I would take Miami in the points if I was a bet.
I think I'm going to go.
And I would take the over because the over is only at 47.5. And I'm like, it's college football, man. They're going to score some fucking points. They're college kids. They're going to be jacked up for this one.
That's the only thing, though, is a lot of times, typically, at least for whatever reason, now the longer playoff I think has helped a little bit there, with like the bright lights being so bright right away, right? But a lot of times these championship games have started slow early.
They usually, I remember in the past they always started so goddamn slow. It was like slugfest and slobber knockers. But since we've really gone to this college football playoff and you have to do these multiple ones, like in the past, you remember the days of Ohio State, Miami in like the early 2000s. Those are slobber knockers. But those teams also had like a month and a half off between when they played their last game till the fucking championship. So
yeah,
I think we'll get a high scoring game. I think these teams are ready to fuck.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I think sometimes it's happened in the past. I think what I would say about this one is if it's close to me, I think it could be one where maybe out of hand where they bring it to make the score closer. I could see where this. I'm gonna say 10-point game. I'm gonna say I don't know. I'm gonna go 30 to 20. I'm gonna go 30-20.
30-20.
Yep.
Hoosiers,
yeah. Hoosiers take the title home. The thing about the Hoosiers is they've been I think throughout the entire thing, to me, they're the only team that's really played, like, dominated both sides of the ball, and that's I think the big reason why I'm taking them in a somewhat. I'm hopeful it's not a blowout, Mike, but it could be. We've seen it in the past too, blowouts in this game.
Carrying the Big Ten hopes, right? Fuck the SEC. We got a Big Ten ACC championship game.
The other thing too is the SEC and the Big Ten, like all these conferences are so different now. But yeah, Mike, let me ask you here. Getting back to this, would it be out of the realm to have Raiders trade their first overall pick, snag a couple of firsts out of the deal, and sign a bridge quarterback and get more defense?
No, it would not be out of the realm. My question is, who's going to trade with them, right? Because I assume if they're doing it for Mendoza. Like, they're doing it for a quarterback. So who's moving?
You almost assuredly are saying, yeah, that's almost assuredly, yeah.
Right. People like to talk about the, first overall quarterbacks, no sure thing. They're no lock. That's true, but just about any position you draft with the first overall pick is not a sure thing. We've had plenty of defensive ends who look like Adonises in college, like the greatest thing since sliced bread, go at the top of the draft and never really pan out to be anything. Now, they end up with long careers and they bounce around everywhere, but there's no locks at the top of the draft. I guess I would just question who would be that team to move up and give multiple picks in order to do it. Would the Jets move up from 2 to, hey, we want to get Mendoza. We want some of this.
Obviously, the further down the cost comes up. I guess with Barry staying there, you never know. And I know the Shadur fan base is crazy, but Mike, you got day 3 quarterbacks in there. I mean, the Browns absolutely, I think, especially you paid and kept Garrett. Like you obviously you're not going to win next year. I don't think you're not in the position to, but if you do want to win while Garrett's on the roster, you got to get the quarterback position solved. So they also do have the means to do it, Mike, with 6 and 24. So I could see the Browns in the mix. Browns,
think like Miami's dumb enough to do something like that.
Well, I mean, Mike, if you get a new coach that comes in there, I don't think their team is talented enough across the other parts, but obviously, if you're moving on from Tua, they need a quarterback. I doubt Miami. Who was the other team? Let me pull up the NFL draft, actually. Obviously, the Titans aren't doing it.
Cardinals?
There you go. That was it. That was the team. Cardinals. Cardinals 100%, if you're moving on from Murray, are a candidate, I think. Because to me, the defense obviously is, I mean, let's call it what it is. It's horrific. But the offense has some makings, potentially. So, you lean into the quarterback and just say, we're going to have to fucking sling it,
Yeah, fuck it. Let's go.
I definitely think they're in the mix. What do you think about the Cardinals?
I think they'd be in the mix, and being at 3 is not prohibitive. I'm sure if you're the Raiders, you'd rather have somebody, more like Miami at 11, Cleveland at 6, where you could get a bigger package.
Pause.
I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. It's probably the smart play if the Raiders can do something like that, but you got to have a dance partner. You got to have somebody who's in love with Mendoza versus potentially a second round, day 2 quarterback, or somebody in the free agent class like a Malik Willis, for example, or, something along those lines where they go, man, Mendoza, and then it's a giant gap of shit, we got to do this.
That's why I think to the way it's phrased, is it out of the realm of possibilities? You inherently have to answer no. But I think this is what I'll say. This year, Mike, I was looking at this, and as I look at it again, it makes me want to say this even more. This looks like, you go into a Dynasty league that's, a little more been around for several years, and you have you kind of have a wide gap of the managers that kind of know what they're doing and the managers that clearly have either fucked up significantly or just don't. If you take a look at the picks, it's amazing how this year it's like the shitty teams have moved on from their pick, or you already have the teams that are really high have a QB solved. Like you have right now the Jets, the Cardinals. Maybe the Giants. I don't think they're doing that, but the Browns, right? Everybody else though move. You got the Commanders. The Saints, I guess, could do it as well, though they just took Shuck, right? But you got the Chiefs, you got the Bengals, you got the Rams have the Falcons pick at 13, Baltimore's at 14, Tampa's at 15. I mean, there's it's one of these years where you're like, dude, there's not that many teams that are super, super needy in those, top 15 picks. So basically, to trade out of the top 15, it's a totally different cost from one, because you're like, all right, now we need 3 futures too. So it's just, or 2 at minimum. So,
we've had the first overall pick traded 3 times since 2001 actually, and you're 2 for 3 on it working out for you, I guess, if you really want to say it. And one's still kind of to be determined because the guy's still pretty young in his career, and he just got his team to the playoffs and played a hell of a game too to keep it closer. And that's Bryce Young, right? The Bryce Young Bears Panthers trade.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, though. It's like, here's the other thing about it, right? Typically, that one's crazy when you think about it, because obviously the Bears had so much already built correctly around, but the teams that typically have to trade up 2-1 to get a QB, there's a reason they need a quarterback, obviously, but they're normally not also just sitting there flush everywhere else too, right? Like, even if, let's even say Bryce Young, Mike, had been, I don't want to use Jaden Daniels, but let's use a more elevated quarterback. He's had a more elevated quarterback tenure this early on. You're still thinking, man, maybe this year they'd look better, but last year, 2 years ago, you're like, dude, this team is fucking terrible, even with Bryce Young. And you have that Cam Ward syndrome where they're just that bad.
Titans and Rams, that was the Jared Goff trade.
Goff, yep.
That worked out okay for the Rams, trading up there.
For sure.
Even though they ended up having to trade Jared Goff, but they got to a fucking Super Bowl.
Well, but
they had the coach.
But go ahead and also, if I remember, that one wasn't super outrageously cost prohibitive as like a Bryce Young trade, right?
Yeah, it actually was.
Was it?
It was pretty crazy, yeah. So the Titans got 26 first round pick, number 15, 26 second round pick, 2016 first round pick with number 15, second round pick in 2016, another second round pick in 2016, 26 third, 2017 first round pick, and a 2017 third round pick. So 2 first, 2 seconds and a third.
But you went up to 1 from 15.
Right.
And you only had to give up 1 extra first.
Well, and then
that
that
wasn't
same draft,
crazy.
the Eagles traded up to 2 to get Carson Wentz in that same draft too. You know, sit right behind him.
But that scenario is kind of what I was talking about, where you typically don't see it. Like teams willing to go from 1 to 15 is rare. So I think that's why they had to kick in those seconds and thirds. But Mike, I mean, you're telling me, dude, the cost from 15 to 1 is supposed to be ridiculous. You know what I mean?
And then then you got Chargers and Falcons, Michael Vick trade.
Vick, yeah. What was the cost of that one? That was
Timmy Dwight, Iowa legend.
Nice.
Timmy Dwight, 2001 first round pick, which was number 5, which was LaDainian Tomlinson.
LT, yeah.
2021. Wow, they put that's got to be a mistype. That's got to be a 2001.
Yeah,
yeah, that's got to be a mistype. 2001 third round pick, pick 67, second round pick in 2002.
Okay,
number 48.
That was cheap.
They moved up 4 spots.
That's still cheap though. There was no other first. Is that what I'm hearing?
No other first. 1 first. Pick 5.
And that's remember, Mike, I was telling you at the beginning of the show how much things can change in a year. Well, how much they change in years. Like you ain't going from 5 to 1 without giving up multiple something. Yeah. At least a first of some capacity. You know.
Yeah.
And you had a quarterback in that. A running back in that. That's crazy.
And just to recap, because we didn't touch on it, the Bears, Panthers, in case you forgot, DJ Moore, 23 first-round pick, number 9, 23 second-round pick, number 61, and a 24 first-round and 25 second-round pick.
We don't drink water, Corey.
What's water? On the trade show, I'll drink water because that's usually recorded in the afternoon, as soon as I get home from work.
There's a other... Oh, what's your bet where Willis is going?
It feels like a New York Jet if there ever was a New York Jet.
Don't say that. Hey, you don't say that.
I'd actually say Jets or Dolphins, to be honest.
I mean, the Jets, I guess, I could see. What are your thoughts on Arizona?
Maybe. I'm still not completely sold that the new guy's going to move on from Kyler.
Really?
Unless we get a number 1 overall pick trade.
You're one of those, huh? You won't believe it until the final moment.
Well, it's cost prohibitive, and Kyler's got enough talent that I think somebody coming in and being like, "Fuck it, we'll ride Kyler out and see what he's got." Because this isn't the class. If the Kyler thing doesn't work out, then cool, right? Like, obviously they know I'm not taking over a great franchise. They're going to give me a couple years. The Kyler thing doesn't work out. Now we can move them at a reasonable cost, on our books, and we're picking early in 2027 in a much steeper quarterback class. It feels like Kyler's gone from franchise quarterback to Arizona's bridge quarterback at this point. And if it's better than that, then great. If it's not, I don't give a shit.
I think the issue is though internally, right? They've already made their bed. Like they've already kind of done what Haslam should have right away with like Watson. Like, all right, it's a sunk cost in a way. That's the way they've committed to it. It feels like because you do have Brissett under contract, right? Still, so I guess I'll say this: I won't be entirely shocked if they keep Kyler because of the cost prohibitiveness of it. But it feels like they've quietly already done everything they can to say, like, listen, it's over, pal. We're ready. It's over. To move on. Yeah, it's a Harbaugh thing. Like, you might think it was a bad move for Baltimore, but they're just like, listen, it's time. I guess the other scenario. Who was I thinking? For Willis.
I just point out though, if they were to move on from him, it's 54 mil in dead cap right now. Mm-hmm. If they were to wait it out 1 year as a bridge quarterback and they decide 2027 we're done with you, right? Because we just drafted a guy at the top of the draft with our new regime that we have in here, 7 mil. So
yeah,
I mean they got 47 million reasons to go. Fuck it, we'll give you one more shot.
But if you're not going to play him, you have 0 reasons.
If you're not going to play him in 2026, yes, you have 0 reasons. Right?
That's I guess the thing is like, well, if you're already thought you're moving on, like you just it's all dead money. Whether it's 7 next year or 47 now.
I say this. I still
rank
Kyler in Dynasty at a decent spot because he can run. And I'm 95% sure he's starting for a team day one of 2026 somewhere. Whether that's in Arizona or whether that's Miami or the Jets or the Raiders, I don't.
Well, that's why
nobody's starting somewhere.
Well, I was going to say, what's interesting is, so to this question of Willis, right? The team I was thinking of is funny because I was looking at the top of the draft and I just kept looking at those teams, but I had a team so top of mind. I'm like, oh, duh, it's Pittsburgh.
There you go. Except Tomlin's not there anymore.
Right, but Mike, think about this. If you're Pittsburgh and you have any type of a belief, like you just said, in a Murray, right, or you want to take a shot on Willis, like,
and they don't want to rebuild, they want to retool, yeah,
dude, that could make sense, right?
Well, they could have had Malik Willis 2 years ago if they would have just played Justin Fields the entirety of the fucking season. I don't understand that at all, but hey, teach their own.
Well, they also could have had him at 20 if they didn't take fucking Small Hands Pickett. So there's multiple shots there.
Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett to you, sir.
Yeah, there's it's like, to me, it's like the bubble. Okay, there's asterisks on these things. The bubble title. Remember the bubble title got all that hate.
That's a real title, by the way. He earned that.
It is. It's got a massive asterisk on it. They engraved the asterisk on the trophy too. Yeah, I don't know. To me, I think you look at Pittsburgh, you'd look at Miami, and Arizona probably would be the teams I would put in the real conversation. I feel like Malik is going to be one of the later ones though. Like, all right, we didn't get anybody else type of thing.
Are we in agreement though? Like, we both believe that Malik Willis is starting for a team next year.
So here's the thing. I don't necessarily believe that just yet. I think I guarantee you he's going to go into. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm very hopeful he goes into a situation at minimum where he's competing for a job, right?
Okay.
I think that's kind of where I'm at. I think he should hopefully get a spot. He's done enough in moments to get an opportunity to compete for a job. One of the things that sucks though for these type of players, when I'm not necessarily speaking to the game of Malik Willis, more so speaking to like a guy that's in a good backup situation, right? You come in, you see him play well, and it's like, okay, that team has a lot of the nucleus to put him in a good situation, right? And you get them to go to a bad team, and then it's like, damn, the fucking situation's shitty again, and you don't get to see them play well. You hope though that he's learned and progressed a lot in his game, like we've seen at times in Green Bay.
We have over a couple of years now, right? In spot duty, we've seen him play really well, and I think that last game he played before he got injured, and then Jordan Love came back, with the fucking shoulder problem. Yeah. He got injured in the relief game, and then the game he started.
I was worried about that shoulder, dude. Like, I don't know if you saw, when he made a throw, the very next throw on the sideline he was making, it looked like he couldn't throw the ball right. I'm like, shit, this dude's got fucking bad shoulder.
But I thought he played fucking lights out for that game in relief of Jordan Love the following game with a hurt shoulder, and he got banged up again in that game too, and they had to bring the other fucking guy in. But
there's a second layer of that too. I just want to say real quick because it's making me think as you're saying that you also get the preparation work you get for a Malik, right? He's a totally different kind of stylistically than Jordan Love. So that's another thing, is the team's prepping for you weekly versus like that is different as well.
Right. I do believe he gets some short of Justin Fields' contract that we saw with the Jets last year. I'm thinking like 2 years, right around 40, 45, maybe even 50 mil, and it's going to annual out to 20, 25 mil is my guess. And it's going to be kind of like that Justin Fields situation. But I don't know, kind of like we were talking on percentages, man. I think I'm probably like 90%. I think he's starting for a team next year. Whether that is a team who ends up taking a Ty Simpson or a Carson Beck in the first round or the second round, day two, a quarterback like that, where they're like, we got a guy we like, we just want to get a little bit of seasoning on him and get him comfortable. Yeah. Malik, you're our guy for now. Or Russ in New York this past season with the Jackson Dart thing. Like, Russ still started the season. right?
Well,
Like,
well that I think at least there, right? I guess I hear you and I get it for sure. To me, I think at least the way I would view it differently is Russ is like, okay, inherently Russ should be passing the torch, whether he knows it or not. He's a pass the torch guy. Malik is kind of like the upside swing on him, and what you saw, like if you brought in Malik and he starts playing really well, and you just the confidence that what it could do to like Malik Willis is this guy. If you think about what he was coming into the draft, right, and a lot of the traits he has. If he performs well, I mean, you're going to have a team having a hard time moving on, right? Versus Russ is like, all right, dude, we're on the last leg of this. This is kind of like similar to Aaron Rodgers. Like, we know it's not what he once was. So that would be my only worry about him coming into a situation like that where a team – would a team want to bridge a quarterback with upside in his own right, like Malik Willis, and who's still pretty damn young with a high drafted pick? Especially at the cost of 20 a year, you know.
Yeah. All right. Back to the original question, though. I'm saying
I think he's likely to get it. I'm with you. I don't know, maybe not quite 90%. I was going to go through. Here's what I was going to do, Mike, and just go through the teams that are open as far as like quarterbacks. They have to do something with, right? So you got the Cardinals. You've got well, that's not really one that we want. We'll say that for a different day. Cardinals, Raiders. Pittsburgh, Jets. Yep. I mean, guarantees, right? Those are the 4 guarantees. Yep. Miami would be 5.
Yep.
I think those are the guarantees only, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a scenario Cleveland still plays Shedeur. There's a scenario. Who are the other ones here? I mean, I think people are going to want to put the Vikings in the mix. I mean, there's definitely a scenario they keep JJ there still after he played last year.
Almost 0% chance.
I wouldn't say quite 0, but yeah, he played well enough, I think, to keep the job.
Yep.
The Saints with Shuck, how he played.
I think they love Shuck. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying,
yep.
These other ones aren't. I think there's also those teams I just mentioned. They could bring in a quarterback. There's a scenario, but far from a guarantee.
Yep.
So I mean, if you're only talking about 5 openings, and we say Mendoza's getting one of them, I mean, you got Kyler in the potential mix, like.
Jets, Cardinals, Raiders, Dolphins, 4 teams. Locks. Everybody else.
Steelers. You think Rodgers comes back?
I think there's a scenario, too, where they're like, fuck, we already got Mason Rudolph.
Well, that counts then.
You know what I mean?
That counts then. He wasn't the quarterback last year. But yeah, whether it's 4 or 5, like
5 locks in.
You're telling me. That's why I say it's not a guarantee. I'm hoping he goes into a situation at minimum to compete. I think that he's already earned. So, but I mean, dude, you can already guarantee Mendoza's one of them. There's a very real scenario another team takes a quarterback in the first round that plays still, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just not a lot. It's just not anywhere near locked to me because there's not that many openings guaranteed. And even of those teams, right? Like, is there a scenario where one of those teams ends up bringing in Willis with somebody else?
I think there's a scenario there too. But also, if I'm Malik Willis and I have to juggle, do I want?
Here you go, Mac Jones.
The problem with Mac Jones is he's under contract. So
is he? Okay, I didn't even look at that. Okay,
yeah. He signed a 2-year deal with San Francisco.
He got like Brissett did. Okay.
And there's some probably wiggle room as far as, I'm going to hold out and like that kind of shit.
Dude, but here's the thing. He's super tradable at 8.41 for those 2 years. 4 a year. So, yeah, he could be gone.
Very tradable. Very tradable for a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick or a couple 3rd-round picks, whatever it is.
Right.
I think with Malik Willis, though, if I'm him and I'm his agent, it's like I'm going to have conversations. Am I the fucking starting quarterback? And what are your plans on bringing other people in? Like, I understand that I'm not a franchise guy, but I want the opportunity to prove I'm a franchise guy. So if you do get something in the 20, 25 mil range, great. If it is, hey, we're going to give you 20 mil, but we're also going to bring in this guy, we're drafting Mendoza in the draft. You know what I mean? Let's say it's the Raiders. Is he better off going back to the Packers and being like, hey, listen, I'm going to take a 1-year deal for like $12 million and then I'm going to hit the market again next year,
Absolutely.
And stay where I'm comfortable.
Absolutely.
The Packers are going to value him as a very good backup quarterback for what he's done with him. He knows the system, and Jordan Love isn't the epitome of health. Like, he always seems to have something fucked up with him. So why not? Why not? Why not just go back to Green Bay?
Definitely real. Well, I mean, I think you see that it's exactly the same or similar as like a Ben Johnson, a hot to trot OC. Like, all right, do I really want to take a head coaching job or wait for my opportunity? But how do I feel about Jonathan Brooks compared to the 26 RB class? Now, if you're asking about the prospect of Jonathan Brooks, that's a totally different conversation than where we're at now. Honestly, to me, I would take an outside shot on him, Mike, but that's basically at no cost. Like, that's where I have him valued, right? Like, I am not in the business of acquiring Jonathan Brooks for anything palpable at all. Like, I'm talking dead-end picks at it too, honestly.
Correct. Would I rather have a third-round pick in this down class for Jonathan Brooks? I would take the third-round pick.
312, 301, all of them, yeah.
Would I rather have a fourth or fifth-round pick in this class versus Jonathan Brooks? You could have that conversation.
Sure. I think I'd probably, honestly, Mike, consider Brooks for sure in the fifth-round range just because of people will buy into the hype again of him, right, the player. So
they will buy into any kind of coach speak that they can get at this time, right? Any former players hyping him up, anybody around the Carolina Panthers organization hyping him up, but that's all we're going off of. And the actual facts are we got a oft-injured running back throughout his career now who has an ACL tear in the same knee.
Yeah, we don't well, honestly, you don't have – I was going through this. I didn't do a video of him last year, but I do want to try to do a little more of these individual shorts, or not shorts, but short form video where Mike, it's like I couldn't find one, and maybe I just didn't go back far enough, but I couldn't find a single scenario where you had a guy coming off of an ACL tear, right? That when he comes back essentially tears it before really we know that it's stable and healthy. So the reason that's so important is we don't even know what that looks like. Like if it was maybe not fully healthy and he re-tears it, there's a scenario where that like I'm not a doctor, but so maybe Dr. B's here, somebody's here, but
we got a doctor in the house.
Yeah, it's actually even more difficult to come back from at that point. Not to mention one thing that's definitely happening is you're getting older and you're not able to run. That you've had a significant amount of time not being able to run and play and do the things you're supposed to be doing.
As awesome as people may have thought he was, I'm also young enough to remember, old enough to remember, whatever you want to call it. Marcus Lattimore, South Carolina.
There you go. Yeah,
Marcus Lattimore.
He was
absolute fucking tank, man. But two devastating knee injuries and almost never to be heard from again. So I'm good. I'll let other people pay the price. And if I'm wrong,
there you go. I was looking for, Mike. I think what I wasn't able to find is a scenario where someone did that and like actually thrived. Right? We've seen people have a devastating injury and then they come back from it, but not like to the same one immediately after the injury.
You want to go real old school, the guy had a hell of a long career, but all his injuries were at the college level before he got to the NFL. Frank Gore had just knee injury after knee injury after knee injury when he was at Miami. So it's the whole reason we got Willis McGahee, who also then suffered a terrible knee injury in college.
But that's the thing, like McGahee was one I was thinking of. Like we've seen some gruesome, like, oh my God, will he ever play again? We've seen him come back from that, but we never saw like McGahee tear his ACL and then immediately come back and tear his ACL and then
again.
Yeah, like that type of injury just seems not fluke. We have a super chat though. In full PPR, half point tight end premium lineup start 10. If you had McBride, is he good enough? Tight end. Is he good enough that tight ends matter, or are you looking to move? If so, what would you take?
McBride.
So 12 team start 10. We're assuming here.
McBride in that format is about the only tight end that I'd actually be comfortable investing in. At their cost, right? Like I don't want to play the Bowers game. I don't want to play Pitts. I don't want to play Colston. Loveland's going to be the next one. Like people being like, see, I told you he was top five. I don't want to play that fucking game.
Loveland's performance in the playoffs is almost assuredly going to make his price unreasonable.
What everyone wants to chase is prime Travis Kelce, right? When he was at his heyday. Where he was a cheat code if you
want to that or the couple years of the Andrews, the Gates. You think Jimmy Graham's. You're thinking of all those, right?
But even Andrews was like a couple years. Like
Andrews
what I
had a
want to
smaller window, but like you're chasing that exactly that ceiling. Yes,
I'm talking the prime Travis Kelce years.
Oh, you're talking the window of Kelce. You're talking chasing
2016,
10-year thing.
2016 to 2023, where it was I'm either tight end 1 or I'm tight end 2, and there's no ifs, ands, and in betweens.
What you're speaking to, yeah. You want to solve the elite tight end for your dynasty team, right?
Done deal. I don't have to worry about this position ever. I'm just going to take a couple turd burgers and throw them on the end of the bench because when Travis Kelce's healthy, he's fucking starting. He's playing.
I got
no question.
The solution,
And he's going to be a warp difference maker because I always have the tight end 1 or 2 on my roster every single year.
Believe me when I tell you, I once subscribed to trying to do that, and trust me, it doesn't work out.
I don't want to be in this position where I'm trying to chase the next projected one, right? Brock Bowers was it this year, so what if that was the only thing I heard when I told people to sell Brock Bowers last year was, what if he's Travis Kelce? Well, he wasn't, so fuck off, right? Like, I mean, injuries happen.
He still may be, but
maybe.
we have we need a quarterback of some sort to go there, and health is obviously the big thing. But I will say this, McBride, if you're telling me you were going to chase such a thing, a solution, it's McBride.
It is McBride because you're looking at, first full year starting, tight end 8. Second year, 2. This year, 1.
Well, but now where he's been at the last 2 years, Mike, even with the development and assuming Marv comes to maybe not once what he was, but comes into his own, right? Michael Wilson's Trey McBride's a walking wide receiver 1 in the tight end spot.
Yes.
That's the issue, right? That's where even at half point tight end premium. Yes. The problem is this though. What you'll have to pay for Trey McBride is where it comes down to for me. Because in the half point tight end premium game, you're telling me if I have to pay for him like a wide receiver 1, an elite wide receiver, or if I have to pay, let's call it a top 12 pick roughly in Superflex, I'm not even going to tell you he isn't worth that when healthy. The problem is if it goes wrong at all, any capacity it goes wrong, you've invested. It's one of those things, Mike. I would do it on a God squad. I would if I had the luxury to my ability, right? If I had picks that are disposable, or I had players that just a stacked team. If I was in that position, and this is, let's call it the last of the Infinity Stones, sign me up. But basically, if I'm not in that scenario, Mike, I feel like it's typically, even if he works out for your team, you probably aren't built well enough to sustain now wins around him. And then also, if it goes wrong for you, you're just holding it back.
Current ADP, he's a 109, and he's the only tight end I would consider in the first 2 rounds doing a startup.
Well, I'm with you. I can't do it in this format, half tight end premium. I can't do it in the first 12 picks. So if that's what it costs to attain him, I'm also probably out.
And just for reference too, you're talking about current ADP, thanks to Adico, Dynasty Data Lab. Shout out to those wonderful people over there, and Adico himself for inventing such an awesome website. The guy's going after him, Lamar Jackson. Come on.
Oh, Mike.
Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Ashton Genty, Caleb Williams.
Jay just had to let you know he heard you. Also, it's Pitts all day. All right, I'm out.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with the Pitts thing. Thanks, Jay, though.
Appreciate the super chat, Jay. Appreciate the super chat, Corey. Hey, so he says, here's what it said. What would you take? So
3 first.
Yeah, I was gonna say in this scenario, if you had him already, right? So I talked about basically not wanting to go acquire him. What's the 3 generic first? Like what? I guess what kind of return are you looking for? 3 generic first. 3
generic first. But that applies to just about anybody that's going to be in this ADP range. Back end of the first, early part of the second. You give me 3 first for them, you can fucking have them, and I don't really care who they are.
What I will say in this format especially, right? So in best ball, I pretty much still, Mike, subscribe I shouldn't even say. I fully endorse everything you just said about that, because in best ball, for example, I don't, even if they're draft picks, I'll eventually move them closer to the playoffs if I have to trade them, or move them in the playoffs if I'm able to do that, right? I know that's how it works. I'm looking for bodies. In a lineup start 10, right? I won't do that for, the elite quarterbacks necessarily. Because maybe that market doesn't let me take those picks and go get that elite quarterback back. Or an elite stud receiver if I've only have like one of them, let's say, because if I'm built to win, if I'm really built that way. So in lineup start 10, but the caveat is this though to me, Mike, in lineup start 10, even here, tight ends don't fit that. So even if Trey McBride is worth it, I will liquidate 4-3 first because I can now put a different tight end there. It won't be McBride. Don't get it twisted. But Mike, I got 3 firsts to go get. I attach that to what else I have in my roster. I'm probably back into elite conversation at some point with maybe a more meaningful position.
Yeah, I mean, even when you say like, when I say like 3 firsts, I mean, people are like, well, would you do it for the 10, 11, and 12 of this class? You know, but we look at last year's class wasn't the greatest, but you look at 10, 11, 12, what could have that netted you last year? Right?
One of them probably was Ibuka.
You don't want to Mecca Ibuka, and all of a sudden you're in the same fucking range anyways as
Right.
one Trey McBride, right?
Sure,
And the other two are just extras. So that's why generally for any of these guys, even in the back end of a first-round startup, you tell me you give me 3 firsts, almost regardless of format. In best ball, abso-fucking-lutely. Lineup start 9, start 10, you get a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of a question mark, Adam, but I think my biggest difference is we're talking about that now in January. If you're talking about would I take 3 firsts for him when we get close to point scoring season and I'm trying to build a fucking contending team, much different story. But right now in January, give me the liquidity, and there's so much more I can do with this throughout the next fucking 9 months.
Yeah, and I think that's where the reason I would pause or wouldn't say just wholeheartedly do it is everybody's format or market, I should say, not format. Everybody's market in a 9 or 10 could be different. You could be looking at like me and you playing a lot of leagues, I think, Mike, where I have a strong feeling I'm not going to have to sit on these picks and make these picks because of the way the next 4 or 5 months is about to go. That's not the case for everybody. So that would be my only holdback. I would say, though, at tight end, though, even there, Mike, I think because it's a tight end, I would be willing to liquidate for 3 firsts. But I tell you one of the easier ways, if let's say you don't want to go just picks. I mean, if you tell me, Mike, that you can get yourself into a top 15, 20 receiver and get picks, I'm probably in the game, right? You tell me that I can get a tier down at tight end and get a mid first or a 27 first, probably in the game. Like there's a lot of ways I think you can. The nice part about it being a tight end is that there's a lot of different ways you can skin the cat, so to speak. So it's just thinking about it from the 3 first generically value wise, but how you want to play the game. The one thing I will say is I'm not in this format of start 10. I'm not going to get nickeled and dimed though, right? I'm not looking for these players that aren't going to be, true starters in my lineup.
Well, I'll give you 2 firsts, and I'll give you a second, and I'll give you Jonathan Brooks.
There you go.
I don't want that shit. Go fuck yourself.
Yep, go sit on one.
But you and I have been playing long enough, and we've seen enough of these kind of deals go down, even in lineup start 9 or start 10, that almost universally across the board, if you talk about 3 firsts for just about any player,
right,
the picks usually went out in the long run. It's the long run. There was that. God, I wish I would have bookmarked that. You remember a couple months ago, somebody put out a great fucking website where you could go and you can check your trades and then like how they panned out, because that's the toughest thing to do is when we're playing Dynasty and you're trading, for picks 2 years out, you're trading for picks 3 years out. This one went back and it looked at all your deals and what those picks became, and then graded on.
You basically trade raping me for all of our tenure,
No, like you were my trade nemesis. It told me like.
I thought it said that you got like way over on me.
I don't know. If I go back for the fucking Discord,
it was more funny because it was very one-sided. But I'm just fucking around. I'm just playing.
For sure. But yeah, like I love that kind of thing too. But if you were to look back at a lot of your the player for 3 first kind of deals,
and you then
I can almost tell you.
Yeah.
Through experience and you want to use that website as your final determination. It was
for sure.
The 3 first usually went out.
Yeah, find that. If we could, it was in Big Meat Big Drink. I know for sure. I've clicked on it before. I can't think of it off top, but I
wish I would have pinned it.
I will tell you the only thing, at least for me, the way that I typically trade when I'm getting multiple picks is it's never like it's typically never as clean as, all right, now I can tell you which 3 players I drafted anymore, because I'm typically like trying to move those picks. But I do love the tool. And I think that you're probably right as well. More often than not, you're not going to fuck them all up. And if you hit one of them, right, you're probably somewhat in the conversation with the player you drafted anyway. So So let's see. Oh, there it is. Dynasty Dealmaker.
DynastyDealmaker.com.
All right, so
I'm running this fucker again because I
do
did,
it. I'm pretty
did
sure.
The report card.
Yeah, but if Mendoza ends up with the Raiders and they're
all right, you're right, buddy. You got me.
Yep.
My best mark, Raptor 1523.
Yeah. There's been a couple trades in particular that heavily weight that one.
Plus 55,000.
Yep, that's heavy. That's heavy juice.
We've also made a ton of deals, but
yeah, for sure. In a lot of different leagues too. If Mendoza ends up with the Raiders and their bad defense, could we have a Joe Burrow Dak type situation where they got to throw the ball a lot? And if he's close to what we expect, they will explode. I mean, the last part, I don't know what you mean by they will explode. If you mean talented quarterbacks go into these bad situations, it happens time and time again where if he's really an elite talent, eventually it will win out, but it may not be fantasy success day one. I mean, see Joe Burrow, see plenty of these teams that just Cam Ward this year. I don't know, if you believe that Cam Ward was that talented, but the situation could be so bad that even if they're chucking the ball, it might not be tons of fantasy success year one. But typically, if they're legitimately as good as we think they are, right, they're elite level talents, they eventually become a successful quarterback. Yeah.
It's going to depend on what kind of weapons they get around them as well.
Having Brock Bowers does definitely help, right?
Dax had CeeDee Lamb, for example, right?
Yep.
And he had one hell of a running game too in the early part, right, with Ezekiel Elliott and then the Tony Pollard.
You could argue that's what allowed Dak to develop into what he is that was able to be brought along slowly. They could really lean on the run. Their offensive line was ridiculous.
Joe Burrow's rookie year, they paired him with T. Higgins, and those two had a hell of a connection right out the gate. And then the following year, it was like, they should draft an offensive lineman to protect him. Nah, we're getting Jamar Chase. Fuck you. So then he ended up with two elite weapons. I think Mendoza, you're not wrong. He could end up in that kind of situation, but it's what are they going to do at the wide receiver position to bring him in an alpha? To bring him in, multiple alphas in order to kind of foster that. Because if you're just out there having to chuck the ball 40, 50 times a game to shit burgers, instead of having a Joe Burrow like rookie year or a Dak Prescott, how we think of those guys and how they have to throw the ball all over the place. Instead, you're more Cam Ward, right?
I mean, Brock Bowers.
How good you are.
At least Brock Bowers. At least Brock, we can say is a better weapon than anything that the Titans have this year for sure. But so I think they're in a good position from weaponry already with Brock Bowers. If you were to add now, let's say Mike, another legit alpha, all of a sudden the weaponry is great, right? So
the one thing I do like though is they do take Mendoza 101. They have an opportunity in the second round picking early.
Don't you think that's going to be the betting odds that's what it is, right?
I would assume so.
By a lot.
By quite a bit. If they take him 101, they have a good opportunity. I think the wide receiver class is deep enough that they can pair, a day 2 pick, multiple day 2 picks, whatever they want to do there.
Or what's much more reasonable is like, hey, all right, we have 33, right? You trade into, let's call it a top 20 pick, right? It would cost something, but
for
by
Denzel
that point,
Boston or something
by
like
that point, exactly. Yeah, by that point, it's not outrageously cost prohibitive. What would be awesome, honestly, to me, Mike, is if you trade 33, maybe even a second next year or whatever, whatever it would take to get, as long as you don't have to go into future first, can we get into, the top 15? Can we really get,
But you could see a scenario where you got Genty, you got Bowers, you got George Pickens in free agency.
Sure. Oh, a lot of them, yeah.
You got Denzel Boston at the early part of the second round to go with Mendoza. You got Genty in the backfield. They add some offensive line depth through the draft and through free agency. And all of a sudden, maybe they got an offensive guy at the head coach or a good offensive coordinator or whatever. Right. And Mendoza could have one hell of a year with just volume because the defense is shit and we got to throw the ball all the time.
Yeah. The one thing I will say the problem though, right? And this is Genty. See, Genty's at the position though, which truly I think speaks to this, right? Because running backs, as a matter of fact, I showed you the chart. What's crazy is Genty still finished RB13, which basically makes him is one spot out, but he wasn't an RB1, but he was essentially an RB1, right? With that shitty offensive line. But Mike, we saw how the reason he wasn't able to thrive, At least we can default to this because he was tackled so much in the backfield was the offensive line. So great weaponry with a horrific offensive line is going to be a problem. So that offensive line is fucking terrible, dude. I mean, it is. Bro, if you watch any Raiders games this year, you saw the time in which you saw people in the backfield, absolutely not even close. It was not even close to any second team out there, Mike. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Mendoza's, he can scoot a little, like he can create something for his own, but he's not he's not going to be God escaping, horrific pressure like that. So
best case scenario, you're 300, 400 yards rushing, best case.
No, I'm not saying he's a Konami guy. I'm saying he can move a little, but he's not he's not going to be Houdini in the pocket, like making plays out of thin air, when pressure's that bad.
Good news for you. I ran the website, dynastydealmaker.com. You're not my best mark anymore. Now that the season's all settled.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Mr. Shy Guy, welcome to the club.
Ooh, he's not so shy anymore.
Not so shy. And it's only off of one trade. We've only ever made one trade together, but it was
damn. How bad? Oh, man, Mr. Shy Guy, that's horrible.
I got to figure out what this trade was.
That trade had to be terrifically awful. Mike, what's going to happen with A.J. Brown? This is a question everybody's wanting. You lucky Tomlin got – I'll be honest with you. If this coaching thing wasn't so chaotic, I think A.J. Brown is the feature story and probably on the thumb right now.
Yep. No wonder. No wonder Mr. Shy Guy.
I thought that was A.J. Brown he made that face for. God, this trade's horrible.
Too.
This trade's horrible.
I gave him this is 2023.
This is going to be – hold on, just real quick. This is going to be one of those typical Mike trades where it's like maybe it made sense in best ball or something, but when you look at it, it's like, God, this is so bad.
And July 29th of 2023, we made this deal. I gave him Deshaun Watson, Jeff Wilson, Antonio Gibson, and Tank Bigsby.
No.
And in return, I received draft picks that became Drake May, Keon Coleman, Amarian Hampton, Matthew Golden, a 26 first, and a 26 second.
You know what's crazy? Is for how lopsided that was, you still fucking whiffed potentially on two of those picks.
Still whiffed on Keon Coleman and Matthew Golden for sure.
Goodness gracious. But to be fair, though, what you gave him, dude, that you gave him pixie dust. Like, that eroded in a fucking hurry. Watson and Gibson, yikes. I mean, what's going to happen with A.J. Brown, though?
I think he's not long for the Philadelphia world.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown as good as gone is what Dynasty Jake says. Did you hear Hurt's little quick comment?
Yeah, he wasn't too happy with Patullo. You saw that little quick one, and it didn't sound like he's very happy with A.J. Brown. Here's the problem for A.J. Brown.
When you start with listen, the guys in your locker room, right? We're in a good place now. Like, I mean, buddy.
Here's the problem for A.J. Brown. Up until the game this past weekend, A.J. Brown still had the fan base, right? Like, through all whatever bullshit we got going on and A.J. Brown not getting the ball, like, the Philly fan base was in his corner. When you come out in the biggest playoff game and you have multiple drops, that went out the fucking window. And now it's like, dude, we're just tired of your shit now.
But
now
I mean,
it's like Step Brothers. He farted in the interview. Okay,
I thought it was going to be silent.
Now the tuxedos are kind of fucked up.
It tastes like onions,
Yeah.
onions and ketchup.
Yeah. Up until that point, it was like he's wearing a tuxedo to an interview. It's funny. It's kind of we like
what,
it.
And so what happened? We heard about the fart. No, I mean, here's the thing about it, right? Realistically, the way that Philly's been running their books, cooking their books, people will say cheating the system, but I'll use a better word, gaming the system, right? And actually, shout out to I met Brett Coleman, Mike, when I was in New York at BDGE. Great dude. He has a video that he broke down about this, basically how Philly, exploited and gamed the system and the shifting of money. It's a great watch. I'll put it in the comments for you to check it out. But Mike, the way they've been doing this, you're already at a pivot point right now where you have an out. So I think A.J. Brown still, let's even say the draft pick return isn't the greatest, right? If you can push him off to somebody where you don't have to eat the entire contract, the entire dead cap, which would be 31. You had a cap hit every year, right? Where you're going to be taking on 20. So they're already at a spot, I think, where you would potentially have moved on from him. You would have probably liked to have been in a better place, and him being in a better place in the market to move on from him. But I think they're already at a spot where this could have happened. He's going to be age 30. So I think it's not even a matter of when or if. It's going to happen. And if you're Philly, right? Like, I get it, man. Philly fans are Philly fans. They're notorious for being, wanting the best and being, the city of brotherly love, I think, is a joke for their fan base. I would say that. But
city hate.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, the truth of the matter, if you're a Philly fan, right? Especially, let me say this as a Browns fan. You got what you've already got out of A.J. Brown's a win. Sometimes listen, we had a great thing. We had a great ride, and it's okay that the ride's over, right? And you don't have to hate the guy. You could be mad at him. You could be, wishing he caught the ball, but all year there was a real scenario with everything the way it unfolded before this game that the writing's on the wall. He's not happy. The team's not winning. Things aren't going well. So, and A.J. Brown's getting ready to get to the twilight years of his career here soon. So, trying to move on from him probably now before all the off the field shit it was imploding made sense.
Here, we were talking about 3 firsts for player deals, even in lineup.
I mean, listen, the only way in which that's going to probably work in a landslide is if you literally whiff. Like, you have to go Keon Coleman, Matthew Golden, all late first where you completely whiff,
My worst trade. I got Justin Herbert. Fair, right?
Yeah.
What I gave up became Drake May, Bo Nix, and Jaden Daniels.
Well, yeah. Well, here's what I will say though. Here's what I'll also say. The time factor that trade is. I mean, Mike, let's ask right now. Obviously, do you still have JD over Herbert?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have you have May over Herbert, right?
Yes.
You don't have Bo Nix yet over Herbert, I hope, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, for those wondering, it's not all 3 ahead of Herbert, okay, but just 2 of the 3.
Not all 3, just 2 out of 3.
But here's what I'll say about this thing too. Understanding the time is big, right? For example, Bo Nix right now, right? He may end up being fine. He may end up being a great quarterback, honestly. There's still that case out there. But we're looking at a window where in Dynasty, if you're looking at draft picks in those first 2 years, outside of face planners, they're all going to have the age thing in their corner. So the time lapse is also key to note, because let's say you're looking at a trade you just made for last year, Mike. Like, you could be talking about guys that are theoretically valuable, but are, without, improvement next year, they're getting ready to go to fucking nothing, and you just don't know it yet. So you think you're on the win because of dynasty youth value. So understanding the time about it is big. Now that one there is different because we've seen enough shortly from Drake May and J.A. to know greatness happened. Also, those were far from late picks that you gave the guy. Very far from late picks that you gave the guy, right?
Yeah, got bent over on that one.
What was it like 102? It probably doesn't say the pick names anymore. It probably says the player names now, right? Yeah.
No, so this was
102, maybe a late first for Bo Nix or an early second possibly, and then
this was made in the summer of 23. So,
okay. They were
random-ish.
Theoretically random, but I will say 2 of those teams probably had to have more at minimum
Mid-ish.
value, right? And then they turned early because May was like a 105ish. So also, granted, that one was, hey, listen, if you traded 3 potential firsts, or let's even call one of them was an early second. And that class had some gas in it, buddy. Like there was fire potential, right?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Just about every one of my worst trades involves me getting 1 quarterback for 3 first-round picks and, some shit.
Yeah, I mean, 24 having 6 quarterbacks top 12 picks and having some good ones is likely to throw a wrench in a lot of the process.
I just say all that to keep it in mind, just to hammer home the point. You're sitting here with Trey McBride in the offseason. not point scoring season, and someone comes to you with 3 first, just take it. Just fucking take it. Dude.
Yeah, well,
Just
yeah,
take it.
that's when I was talking about maybe not. To me, it would be at a cornerstone position, and let's say you're looking at a warp difference maker, and you just can't replace him, right? If you're holding off at the tight end position, Mike, almost format irrelevant, unless you're telling me it's like God warp, we're at like 2 and higher. Okay, fine, maybe we say no, but
Yep.
Take the 3 first, take the value, and run with it. Don't second
Get out
guess
of
it.
there.
All right, Sean. Question for Sean, and then we'll. Speaking of getting out of here, we're
Outside of here.
about the
Almost
2 hour
2
mark.
hours.
Yeah, let's do it. Sean W. I love these 12-team Superflex 10. So we're starting 10, full PPR, half point tight end premium. So same format as prior. Allen, Mahomes, Darnold. We got A-Chain, Henderson, Hall, Scatabo. We got JSN, Lamb, London, Nico, Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr. We got Bowers, Fannin, Strange. No first, 4 seconds. Someone put Puka on the block. What should I offer? I'll be honest with you. This is a perfect potential time to move one of those 2 tight ends, right? To me, to me, in a half point tight end premium, this has been my biggest rule of thumb. If you go the route of I want to have one or I have one, so if I have let's say you put Bowers in the same tier as McBride, although Mike and I don't, I think a lot of people do, just for the sake of argument here, right? If I have one of those guys, Mike, I literally have got to. It's a rule now. I have to liquidate the guys that have value elsewhere, right? It's got to be one or the other, right? So I won't allow myself to carry a Fannin and a Bowers, right? And Strange is probably getting to the point where you would liquidate him too now. But my point is more so with the real meat on the bone of Fannin goes for a first plus, right? Or at least a first, let's call it. Bowers is multiple. So if I'm keeping Bowers, I'm not allowing myself to roster and not start weekly a Fannin, right? Especially when you look at the rest of your roster. I mean, there's no way you can start enough receivers here. So what you should offer to get Puka, I think I would love to try to put – you don't have a first. I would love to try to put Fannin in the mix and tier up with a Fannin attached. I think that would be my attempt. Now, I don't know if that gets it done because –
If someone said, hey, man, I need Fannin, I need all 4 of them seconds.
Oh, well, that would be too easy. That would be way too easy. I'm talking more so attach Fannin to – let me ask you this. Would you attach Fannin to Marv right now?
Fannin and Marv for Puka? Yeah, I think so.
I definitely would, especially in start 10. Best ball, maybe I wouldn't, but I think I
still like Marvin. I believe in him, but I know what fucking Puka is.
I start there because once we get past there, my question is it too rich to up tier from the other ones?
Bowers in a couple seconds I would do for Puka.
Oh, I'm sorry. Meaning I would do that too, probably, honestly. But what I'm meaning is more like, okay, if I attach Fannin now to a Nico or a London, is that too much to go get Puka?
London
or Olave.
Olave, I don't really want to move him unless it gets to like you were talking about where he gets to crazy like 9, something like that. But if he's just sitting where he is right now, just outside wide receiver 1 territory, but still giving wide receiver 1 production, I'm completely fine keeping him. Nico might be the only one just because there's question marks about what the fuck this Houston offense is actually doing. And it's just kind of been so up and down with him. And he's getting to a more advanced age because we forget he didn't do shit for the first couple of years of his career at all.
Yeah.
So
what I will say is the reason I think I think Nico, I would definitely do it given where his age is. The fact that he doesn't have he essentially doesn't have in his range of outcomes anymore, Mike, top 5 upside, right? It's just not going to come. Right. I think Olave's probably in the scenario where he's not going to have top 5 dynasty value upside as well. I would rather do Nico and Fannin, but I'll say this, Mike, with this team in start 10, I want to have depth, right? But I'm going to start 4 receivers. Imagining it's a 3 receiver starting and then the flex. Or even if it's 2, you can flex 2, right? So JSN, Lamb, London, and then while I would love to keep Olave still, if that's Puka, it's one of these tier ups I think that's worth it, given that I'm only adding Fannin, right? I think it's because it would be Fannin.
The very first deal I ever send out is going to be Darnold, Fannin, and all these seconds.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to start it off with this. This is your initial offer, but I think what I would love to do is attach Fannin Like, obviously, this comes down more to what the team looks like and what they view. But if that team looks like it doesn't have a solution, like Mike was talking about at tight end, selling the hopes of Fannin with a very good receiver here, I think would be awesome. Granted,
you're on the more pragmatic. I'm thinking about how to fuck them over. It's like, can I give you Darnold? Can I give you Fannin all 4 seconds? And if they say no, I'm like, how about Scatterbo? You want him too? You like that guy?
You like him, right? He'll drink a beer out of a shoe, you know.
Give you a whole bunch of opium right here.
The thing about it is, though, Puka is at a time right now. Like, Puka going on the block is a guy looking to do the exact same thing to you, more than likely, as opposed to anytime you get these, like, hey, if I saw A.J. Brown going on the block right now, okay, now I know this guy's in full panic mode and can be had. People looking to trade Puka typically are like, hey. Someone right now is asking me, like, hey, should I go get JSN? I'm like, you want me to tell you the truth? Absolutely not. Like, someone's trying to come bend you the fuck over right now, you know?
And I love, let me just say this too, I love Achane, the talent. You know, you love the production that he has, but we're also looking at a completely new situation next year, and I don't know how the new coaching staff wants to use him. Maybe they don't like, dynamic pass-catching receiving backs, right? And maybe that's not their thing. So that'd be another one I'd be interested to see if I could toss him as, like, part of this package, and, like, you figure it out whether or not Achane's still going to be Achane or not.
Well, I'm just going to remove myself here.
Forget the value. Daniels or May.
It says for Mike. So I'm
for Mike.
I'll remove myself here.
Huh? Here, there's a little spoiler. America's game was all about quarterbacks. That's what we talked about. Eric went through his entire ranks.
Not out for another hour yet, though.
Not out for another hour. But I'll give you the spoiler alert. They're in the same tier, and I got them ranked right next to each other. So I don't really give a shit who you choose.
Who do you have at the top, though, for the value? Just
Drake May right now, because he's sitting at keep trade cut #1 overall fucking quarterback for some awful. Like, if I had to choose in a startup right now, I would take Drake May, just in the hopes that whatever league I'm playing in values it the same way keep trade cut is. And I'm like, you're telling me I could get anything extra attached to Jaden Daniels for my Drake May? Absolutely.
So Drake May has the bigger dynasty market. Let's say you had to play the old GQ game of you got to keep these guys on your roster for all time.
More times than not, I would say 70% of the time, I love both of them. And anybody who knows me knows I love both of them. I was the one out there telling people I wanted Drake.
The answer is not Drake May. It's Jaden Daniels there, right?
It's Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels.
Yep.
The rushing upside is so much better.
Yeah, I think it's just because of the style of play, right? You have the ability for a guy to go, high level yardage. I think Drake May actually proved this year that he can run. And he may at times run for a really good number of yards, but I do think still inherently the way Drake May plays and you watch him as they continue to build out, hopefully better receiving core, he's going to scramble more often to throw. Not that Jaden Daniels can't, but I think Jaden Daniels has the just, listen, this dude will take off and have, 700-800 yard seasons. It's definitely still for years to come. So
we're talking about Jaden Daniels, like, man, it was a down year for him. It wasn't that great for him, but just fantasy points wise, right? 20, 17, 23, 18, 16.
No. Well,
in his full games played.
Yeah, he didn't finish very high almost any of those weeks relative to quarterbacks. But the big thing was, and I think this is the point you're speaking to kind of in summary, is that Jaden Daniels, when playing poorly, is going to have a higher floor, and that's because of the rushing. So who has a longer career? I think they're both going to have long ones. I would probably, if you made me bet, I'd probably take Drake May. But I think they're both going to play for a long-ass time, dude.
For all things that we gave Jaden Daniels shit for coming out of college, like, this dude needs to learn to slide, needs to get out of bounds. He has done that in the NFL to this point. And his injury was like, one, why the fuck are you even in the game? And then two, it was just the way a normal quarterback could get sacked, get taken down, that your fucking elbow bends in a row.
It was silly.
And true, like, we want to put this, it's running quarterbacks. Like, how many of these pocket guys, snapped Achilles and tore ACLs this year? Quite a few of them.
Sure.
It didn't matter. They're all going down. Nobody's safe.
I still think while he has done better at getting down and getting out of bounds. I think he'll take more shots. It's not when I pick Drake May, it's not saying like, oh yeah, Jaden Daniels isn't going to be here and around to stay at the quarterback position, but it's more so if you made me bet on it, I'd pick May. But I think both these quarterbacks are going to be franchise QBs for years to come, man. Like, I mean, I'm talking 10 plus easy,
Love both of them. Fantasy upside, biggest upside potential gives me Jaden Daniels.
Let's say right now you are starting an NFL franchise. Is it Drake May not close?
If I'm starting an NFL franchise, we put the fantasy stuff. Yeah, I'd take Drake May as a franchise NFL quarterback over Jaden Daniels. Yes.
Same. Yeah. I mean, Drake May right now, what he's done this year, we'll see, if the lights get too bright or how it looks in the play. What he's done this year has been, the step forward has been just outrageously unbelievable. I mean, he has been.
And without a true number one wide receiver.
That's what I mean. Like, obviously they have a great defense and they're well coached and they have good, but like, it's not like, Hendo has come in and just been the reason this offense is unbelievable, right? He's talented, but he's not the reason Drake May's having this success. It's Drake May just balling out of control. So, do we have any others? I think that's it, buddy. I think that is it. Oh, Pickens be out there ski masked. I will say I'm kind of curious to see what happens with Pickens. Do you think Pickens will stay or go?
I would assume go because I don't think Dallas can afford to pay Lamb, Dak, and George Pickens and still try to fix that defense.
Which, while I completely agree, if you're going to put someone in the running with the Haslam,
Jerry Jones would be the fucking one to do it. He would be the one to do it.
If you're going to say Haslam and the close second, it would be one Jerry that says, you know what? Hell, we ain't gonna fix that defense, so we might as well try to throw it.
It'd be great for fantasy if he stayed because the Dallas Cowboys might as well have been the Dallas Bengals this year. I mean, both teams are constructed very similarly, so we might as well just keep that fucking trend going. Like, we're going to invest in all offense, and we're going to throw the ball a billion times.
Last question as we're getting out of here. I'll give us a little, some kind of a outro here. But last question to talk about this. Mike, so if you're talking would this hurt CeeDee Lamb?
If Pickens stayed?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Because his market's already been hurt, right? But
yep.
I'm asking market and him for fantasy too.
Nope. I actually think GP and him having a solid number 2 wide receiver there actually helps CeeDee Lamb because he would go the fuck off with George Pickens drawing some coverage. It was just a matter of CeeDee Lamb kind of being banged up, and then we had some fluke stuff where CeeDee was dropping balls, especially early in the season.
Yeah.
You think about that Eagles game, you're like, what the fuck? Like, just some wild shit. But
that one was actually crazy.
When CeeDee's right, CeeDee is fucking phenomenal, and I think GP there actually helps him to the opposite of hurts him.
Yeah, I think if you ask me, I think I would still prefer Pickens gone because just it becomes a force feeding of just outrageous number of targets. I think I will say this: if it was where they keep Pickens, Mike, I think I'd be in the CD market. Actually, I think I would be in the buying CD market because you might be able to get there with the guys we were just talking about on that person's team, right? I think he already had Lamb, but you might be able to get there with guys like Olave. You might be able to get there with guys like London or even some of these like, Rome. Rome's probably out of the conversation, but Marv or Egbuka, right? If I could do that without coming off of crazy value, I think CD would be someone I'm in the market for this offseason, honestly.
Yeah, CD's snap share went down just a little bit. A lot of that was kind of some of the injuries you could on, and with that went target share, but they weren't crazy different between what he did in 24 and versus what he did in 25. It was
the snap share
very
doesn't
similar.
concern me at all. No,
I think it's about the same.
And I think it was also just the hot hand effect too. Like, I'm not doubting Pickens' talent, but Pickens is just playing well and eating into the targets a little more than we've seen.
The one thing I did like with Pickens being there, and we know GP can be used downfield, but he's also he's a big body. Right?
Yeah.
Again, they want to get the ball on screens and stuff.
The thing about him has always been going to be the contested catches. Like, he has that in his range.
The difference between 24 and 25 for CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb's deep targets went up. They were pushing the ball down the field to CeeDee Lamb quite a bit more than they ever had in the past, instead of just being this underneath guy, which was great because then efficiency numbers go up. And if you play in any kind of these best ball leagues or lineup leagues that got deep yard touchdown bonuses, it's all like, man, fuck yeah. Instead of that screen pass, man, I want to get a 40-yard tutty on the board, baby.
Yeah, I think the issue this year is, in which these would probably meet more in the middle. Like this year, I would imagine Dak's deep ball accuracy wasn't, in the top tier, and he missed them on a handful of times. Not to mention CD dropped some. But like last year, so not this last season, but 2 years ago, CD was catching those screen passes, and you kind of forget he could take those things to the house. I mean, his yards after the catch had to be fucking stupid in 24. So I think you'll land a lot more of those deep shots next year if you kept the Pickens. It would keep the defenses honest, but to your point, you basically can't build a defense with Pickens paid and CD paid and Dak paid.
It was a little bit of a down year from CD from a lot of people, and he took a little bit of a hit. But Adam, I mean, keep Church cut still got him at 6. He's right in the range he needs to be.
Well, I'm not. The thing about it is because Jefferson's at 7, but Mike, you're telling me he's 2 spots off of like A-Chain, right? Like this is a guy that was put into the number 1 wide receiver conversation just a year ago. So it's I would if Pickens was, I think this ranking would probably come down slightly if Pickens was to stay. So to be honest with you, I'm hoping for that just so I can maybe try to grab a couple more Sedarian Lamb shares. But let us know what you think of that. We appreciate everyone being here too. What do you got, Mike?
The other thing just about the Pickens thing, Cowboys right now, negative $39 million in cap space entering 2026 offseason.
Yeah, man. Dude,
Jesus Christ.
Dude, Mike, but the thing is, what's crazy? Dallas paid Dak. Do you remember? Dak was assured that we did the show. They're talking with Haslam and Jerry were on the trade block. They were going to move. They've been in negative. I don't have the numbers, obviously. I'm pretty sure like the last 5 years. They paid Zeke. They've been in negative. They've had to like rework the books just to get under the cap year in and year out. So Jerry knows how to make it work, man.
Dak Prescott's cap number, right? What he counts against their cap this
80?
year? $74 million.
Pretty damn good guess. I knew it was a ton. 80. It was basically 80. Yikes. I will say the cap has gone up exponentially though the last 3 years. It really got fucked up, and one of the reasons, and this goes to that Brett Coleman video, which I will put down there. COVID year, right? So because of COVID, the cap has never gone down except for 1 year, and that really threw a wrench in it because you had teams that were kind of expecting it to keep ballooning, and when it went down, like that's where the Saints got really boned, honestly. Like the credit card debt was going to come out to eventually work out against them. But Mike, when your credit card debt's already at the max, and then you find out, oh no, the APR is going up, we're cooked here,
Well, no, it was a weird situation where this almost never happens with credit cards, but they decreased your limit.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. I need to pay you $8,000 just to get to spend on it again. Right, there you go.
Fuck, I didn't anticipate that one. We're screwed.
Yeah, I guess we have to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah, we're out.
Well, we love you guys. Appreciate everyone being here. We'll see you back here same time, same place next week for AMA. We're out of this thing. Peace.